Happy New Year, everybody. We're finally back for 2023. We had to take a little bit of a day off yesterday because it was going to be far too loud to do a live stream during New Year's Eve here in the Philippines. But we have a great panel lined up for you. There's no Doc today because he's sleeping off his hangover or whatever, but we do have a great panel. First off, we have returning superstar comic artist, the man or one of the men behind Iconic Comics and Arc Athena, Eric Canetti. How you doing, Eric? Uh-oh, he's muted. No, he's not muted. He just can't hear him.
I said, hello, Wes. Thank you for having me.
Very nice. The dulcet tones of Eric Canetti. How you doing,
Very
buddy?
smooth.
Did you ask how I was doing? I'm clearly honed in. I'm clearly here. Emotionally.
You got any big plans for 2023 in Arc Athena? What can people expect?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm planning on releasing potentially like 3 of them all at the same time and not have to wait about one at a time because that's a giant pain in the butt.
You had them banked up, yeah.
I did. It's just getting it's just getting everybody else in the pre-production line to get everything aligned, send everything off to the printer, have it come back. Actually, there's already one sitting in the warehouse now, but I don't want to pull the trigger on it yet until I have one more and ready to go.
Very nice. So if you're a fan of Eric Canetti and Arc Athena, you're going to have a good 2023, it sounds like, potentially. We don't want to promise anything yet.
How could you not be? It's such a beautiful book, and it's a fun story. And if you guys haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it.
Appreciate
it. You can get it on the Iconic website right now. Who else we got? We got showing up on the channel for the first time, debuting is Gray from Wakizashi's Tea House. How you doing, Gray?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy New Year to you, Wes, and everybody here and in the chat. Great to be on.
Very nice. So you're a fellow expat. Retired overseas. I'm obviously in the Philippines. You're in Japan.
Yes, I am. I wish I was retired, but in Japan, you have to work until you drop. Basically, that's the way it goes over here. But yeah, been here 20 years. Wes just celebrated that in December.
Congratulations! And if people haven't checked out your YouTube channel, there is a link in the video description. You're well over 1,000 subscribers, and you do amazing comic book content, sir.
Thank you very much. I just hit the 1,000 like 2 weeks ago. I couldn't believe it.
Congratulations.
It's been a long road, but we got there thanks to people like Eric helping me out.
It's a lot of hard work. Once you finally get there and get over the hump, it just kind of all kind of builds up after that.
Yeah. Again, thanks. I'm so excited to talk comics with you all. I'm feeling a little bit like the new guy here, so bear with me.
Everybody's a new guy the first time. So do you have any videos that people definitely need to check out that are out right now? They want to see the best of Gray?
Just the latest. I did a review of The World's Finest, Batman Superman, which is it's been a cracking series, Wes. We'll talk about that later,
You're going to say cracker. That cliffhanger on issue number 10 is literally mind-blowing.
Wow.
Did you ever think that you were going to see that?
No, I never even thought I was going to see a really good Batman and Superman story together again by Mark Waid. Who knew?
Yeah, so if you haven't been reading Batman and Superman World's Finest, the 10 issues cliffhanger is absolutely amazing. Who else we got? Returning the band that sells takes in 6 figures a week, Action Figures, Aaron Sparrow. You were out selling toys yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the hustle never stops, man.
So what are people buying in 2023 so far?
You know what I've seen a huge uptick in is McFarlane's DC Multiverse. People are unhappy with the comics, but they can go and they can pick up the figures, and it can be whatever it is that they want it to be. So yeah, those have really taken off in like the last couple months. I've seen a huge upsurge in interest in that, and a huge dip in Star Wars, and a moderate dip in Marvel Legends. So it's really interesting, the ebb and flow of kind of the action figure industry.
Well, a lot of that multiverse stuff, those are some of the best designs that you're going to get.
Yeah, really, there's some really nice sculpts. I wish that they were 6-inch scale instead of 7-inch. We talked about this before. Todd always does his own scale, which is kind of aggravating because it would sell better if it was 6-inch because everybody wants all their figures to look in scale with each other. But maybe he'll learn eventually. Maybe I can school Todd, the multimillionaire.
So you're not only on the toy hustle, sir. You're on the comic book hustle. You are the lead editor for Merc Publishing. What's coming out from Merc right now that people should be looking out for?
Yeah, editor-in-chief at Merc Publishing. We're doing some really great stuff. We're wrapping up the first couple titles that we put out. We're approaching the ends. Miss Meow is getting close to ending. Death Rage will be ending. and then getting relaunched with a comic that's set in the modern day as opposed to the flashback to the 80s. We've got Born of Blood by Drew, who's a frequent contributor to the channel. That's up to issue 3. That's going 6 issues, and then we'll figure out what the next step for Giaris is. So a lot of really exciting stuff coming there. On the personal side, I'm working on a creator-owned book with Renzo Rodriguez right now that James Silvani and I came up with. And he's turning in some beautiful, beautiful art. I've got some great character designs.
Great artist.
Yeah, I can't wait to start showing that stuff off. He did a Death Rage story for us for the Halloween special. It was absolutely gorgeous. Super talented. And aside from that, thinking of launching a Patreon because, of course, we're planning on Dynamite passed on us doing more Darkwing Duck. And decided to go in a different direction, as they say. But James and I kind of want to finish off our story, so we're looking at ways to release it for free to the public.
You're doing the John Byrne thing with his
John Byrne is the direct inspiration for that was John Byrne. So we were like, yeah, why don't we do our own free fan comic? So in the new year, you might see us launching a Patreon where you can get like behind the scenes on all the creative stuff that we're doing. So we'll see how everything works out. But I appreciate everybody's support, and please go check out our Merc titles. Death Rage, Miss Me Out, Born of Blood. I think they're all getting really good.
Very nice. John Byrne set the bar really high with Elsewhere. Those are awesome.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. He's not as big a Nightcrawler fan as I am, which is my one complaint about it. But still really good stuff.
Absolutely, I love Nightcrawler. He's also my favorite. Who else we got? We got the man so cool they call him the Breed. Eric Breed, how you doing, buddy?
I'm awake.
You've been up for like 6 hours. What are you talking about?
Nah, not quite. It's just a couple, but man, sit on you. I'm awake. I'm here and ready to go.
Did you enjoy the football games? I know you're a sports ball fan.
Enjoyed the first one, but yeah, I'm not really a huge college football fan. But my father was an Ohio State fan, so if I guess I like them better than anybody else, and I watched that, and they had just kind of got that inevitable feeling that because whenever you kick a field goal to go up by 6, you might as well just say, "Here you go. Here's your 1-point win."
You need to score that touchdown, dude.
Yes, you do.
All right. So did you get any good comic books this week? Did you read Action 1050?
I did not.
Oh, my goodness. What were you thinking? All right. Well, we'll get there eventually. We'll find out what Eric Breed read this year. Last but not least, we do have Eric O'Sullivan, the Sultan of Soup himself. How you doing, Sully?
I am wicked pissa and getting better by the minute. Happy 2003 from Boston, Massachusetts. Home
How
of the
was New
Massholes.
Year's Eve in Boston? It's going to be a big party, right?
It is. It's amateur night. That's why I stay in.
Oh, my goodness. You stayed in?
I stay in on St. Patty's Day as well because it's
I'm
amateur
with
night
you.
out there, dude. And it's like, you can get hurt.
Absolutely. I went to Edinburgh, Scotland for New Year's one year for Hogmanay.
That must be
It was
cracking.
absolutely amazing. The problem is because I wasn't Scottish, like I couldn't get into the bars. I only had to stay on the street and drink scotch.
They kept you out of the bar because you weren't Scottish?
Yeah, pretty much. You go up there and the bouncer's like, "Yeah, you're not from around here. You can get out of here. This is for locals only tonight." I'm like, all right. It was like you could go to the Hard Rock Cafe or something. But that was kind of limited. But that was a good time. That was in my younger days. I wouldn't do that anymore. I drank 4 beers this year, so not exactly much of a drinker. Yeah, one of them was the other
Sláinte,
night.
and cheers, and skol, and genki, and all the good words, and cheers to everyone in the chat, and Happy New Year to everyone. Seriously.
Happy New Year.
It's nice to be here. What a way to bring in the new year 2023, hanging out, talking
Did
about
you bring it with the
comic
chowder?
books. I make a wicked pissa cup of chowder. You're going to love it.
That's what
I have
I
videos
would
for
love
that.
it.
If you want to make a chowder at home, you can always tune in and learn. I do a demonstration. Seriously, people lave it.
nice.
I don't know, man. If I hear somebody say like, I'm going to bring you a wicked piss a cup of chowder, I'm going to be like, yeah, please don't piss in my chowder. I'm good.
This is a fight
Appreciate
club
it.
reference. No chowder then.
Let's see what the people have to say. We have a few super chats. Carrie Nerdy Girl Crate says, "Happy New Year, aficionados. Here's to a year of great content in 2023.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Happy New Year, Carrie.
I've eventually got to go on. I keep promising to go on Nerdy Girl Creates channel, and we just haven't been able to make the schedule work yet. But we'll do
You'd
that
be
in
the perfect
2023.
guest because she does all the manga and stuff, and you did all that adaptations for Tokyo Pop.
That'd be fun to talk about all that. It's been a while since I've gotten a chance to do that.
Yeah, she's she definitely want to hear from there. Obviously, Carrie is a great person. If you aren't checking out her show, definitely check that one out. Happy New Year, Carrie. We've got Kenneth Dowling. Hello and New Year to all you gentlemen. Hope you all brought it in safely and had fun. I saw Avatar 2 last night. Best movie of 2022. Whoa.
You
I bet
committed
it
3
looked
hours to a movie. That's crazy.
I mean, 2022 is a pretty low bar, but it's still high
Right.
praise.
Spider-Man No Way Home was 2022, right?
No, 2021.
That was
Oh, dang.
2021. Totally.
Well, you still got Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun. Top Gun's still.
That was the big one. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing Avatar 2. I actually liked the first movie. Everyone likes to take a dump on it, but Happy New Year's, brother. I hope you had a good time. We stayed safe.
If you enjoyed Avatar 1, Wes, you'll enjoy Avatar 2 because it is the same movie.
Well, I also like Dances with Wolves and Fern Gully, so.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you're good then.
Well, my wheelhouse. Sean Christopher says, thanks for the constant recommendations of Venditti's Hawkman. I never would have tried the book without your prodding. The first 12 issues are gold. Absolutely. And the 13th issue that's kind of a one-shot afterwards, where they're like in a battle zone, is really good too. But those first 12 issues are amazing. If you keep going, sir, there's gonna be a lull when they did Year of the Villain or whatever it was, where they had to turn in bad or whatever. But Venditti absolutely brings it home at the end, and you get the perfect comic book ending for Hawkman, in my opinion, with that series. What do you think, Gray? I know you read that one.
Yeah, as Sean says in the comment, the first 12 issues were amazing, but it was all the recommendations, Wes, that put me onto it. I wasn't a big fan of the character, but Robert Venditti, I mean, you can't say no, can you? And the art was gorgeous. Was it Brian Hitch for most of it?
It was Brian Hitch for the first 12.
The first 12, yeah.
Yeah, that series is absolutely amazing, and he really brings it home. It's too bad we're not getting more Hawkman, but I know a lot of people are intimidated by the character because he is a bit confusing, because he's the reincarnation and all that stuff. But I think he really tied everything together almost perfectly there. Man.
What's interesting is when somebody said Hawkman, like the majority of the panel just kind of nodded their head in approval. Like, that's awesome. I'm sitting here going like, I don't remember Hawkman since like the Super Friends. You guys are really on top of it.
You need to read it, man. That's a good series.
I'm into it. I'm a huge Brian Hitch fan, so look, just for the art, I'll stick around, or I'll dive in.
Yeah, I've always liked Hawkman conceptually, but Wes is right.
He's a comic of the 21st century.
Brain's a little off.
Brain's a little laggy. What are you saying, Aaron?
I was saying that Hawkman has always been a really interesting character to me visually. Like, he's just got a lot of appeal when you see him, and he's all armored up, and he's got especially when they draw his helmet looking really cool. So it's like I've got a bunch of action figures of Hawkman, but he is really hard to get into because he has such a confusing origin story, and there's been so many iterations of him. But that's why those 12 issues by Robert Venditti are so good, is because he really kind of like gives you the story. You don't have to have this knowledge of Hawkman previously. He gives it all to you in those first 12
that's
issues.
the adventure. He has to go to rediscover himself to find out what his destiny is.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. I'll check it out.
Oh, absolutely. Common Sense
This is going to be me looking things up on buying digital comics as we're going through this entire panel.
That's great.
Yeah,
This show got me buying new comics once again. Seriously, I took a break from comics. I had enough. This show gave me the suggestions that I needed, that I now enjoy going back to my local comic book shop like once every 2 weeks at least now. So psyched.
Nice.
Right
Tomorrow I got my best comic books of 2022 lineup coming. Although tonight's going to be my worst of, so there's some good comic books in there too to be avoiding.
Oh man, that had to be a really rough list to whittle down, right? You're like, how can I only name 10 or 12?
And basically, I was like, all right, let's throw the indies out. I mean, I don't have room for Bendis or Cena Gray, so I just got to go with the big two. But, you try to bundle them, right? So you can get more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
That's what
I was telling my friend that I was going to be on your show today, Wes, and he's like, what do you talk about? Wes leans very heavy on DC, and you're a Marvel guy. And I go, you talk about everything else, I think,
I think talk about anything, geek. But I am more of a DC fan, personally. I always kind of been more drawn to their heroes.
Yeah.
Cobbett says, line it for DC mech sequel Maxima Aztec Uno, Mystic from Justice League Task Force, and Shiloh Norman being trained by Scott Free for the last New God. I just never really got into the DC mech stuff. They had the Marvel mech stuff going at the same time, so I'm not really all that familiar with the series. Were you reading that one, Gray? I know you're more up to speed on some of that stuff.
Yeah, like you, whereas I'm more of a DC guy, like right from when I was young. But no, I haven't. I've not been into the mechs at all. I don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah, it just feels like it's enough manga that does that, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But man, hopefully they get it right and you get a cool mech lineup. Cobbett says, think Jack Knight should be in DC mech, or Courtney Whitmore and Pat Duggan shares one mech like Green Lantern. Call it Stars and Stripes. Man, you should do your own series like Aaron's doing on the old Patreon. You don't have to work for DC and Marvel as long as you don't try to make any money off them, right? As long as you don't sell it.
Yeah, as long as you don't sell it.
On that, Aaron.
Oh no, like the Patreon would be set up for. I mean, you would see sneak previews of what we're kind of thinking of doing with continuing our Darkwing run and things like that. But the Darkwing comic itself will be offered for free. What you would kind of get to see also is just other projects that James and I are working on. You get to see some art by Renzo on my upcoming creator-owned project with him. You get to see a lot of stuff like that. And then, maybe we do like a live stream or something like that where you can come in and you can chat with us and, we can have people on. So, yeah, there's a lot of different things that I'm looking at. And if you guys have ideas, send them my way. I would love to hear what the fans want to see.
Very nice. Yeah. Got to look into it. Happy New Year, Common Sense. Really appreciate that. Joey R75. The Breed and Sparrow. Eric Canetti drew my favorite Spider-Man. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
So you're the seventh person who really liked that. I'm taking a head count. It hasn't.
Canetti, you were ahead of your time with that Spider-Man. If they put that out today, it would be the best one they had.
Oh, it'd be worse because now there's social media, and I'd get roasted even harder than I did in message boards from back in the day.
Eric, I'll tell you, where I discovered your art is I think I saw if I remember correctly, I mean, I'd probably seen it plenty of times before and appreciated it, but where I was I remembered your name attached to it, was you had just posted a picture of, I think it was Skeletor and He-Man, and they were kind of facing each other on Battle Cat and Panther. And Skeletor was like, so you want to squash this? And He-Man goes, fuck you. I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's great. I love this guy.
I was right around my time at Disney, and I had a little bit of time between storyboarding assignments. And I was like, what am I going to do for 2 hours? All these beats from different people from different franchises. And there's always one guy that's not unwilling to put stuff down, so.
Yeah, I like that Skeletor was the guy that was like, maybe this is silly. And He-Man's like, no, we're going to keep
going. In my head,
going.
when you have that many L's, you're like, let's stop. Let's just not do it. And He-Man's like, why? I keep winning,
Watch the beat.
Yeah, you keep messing with me, a-hole.
Listen, if you see me distracted, it's because I'm literally hitting one click on this Hawkman stuff, Wes. So
very nice.
You're gonna get
if you see me turn to the side, it's because I'm glancing at the chat, which is over here.
Right on.
But absolutely, Eric Canetti is an amazing artist. If you're not supporting Arc Athena, I don't know what to tell you. They got big plans for Iconic Comics in 2023 as well. I think they're doing another big old crossover. It's going to be bigger this time, right, Canetti?
They don't tell me anything, Wes. I just show up.
You're in the dark? You're just a talent?
I just am. No, it's a constant evolving conversation about what's going to be the exciting thing that we haven't done before. So if it's something that's a bit there's obviously things that's tried and true. We're going to continue doing that, but within the context of our characters and in the context of our of the stories that we're trying to tell, we're always trying to find a way to be that'd be cool if, and that's the best part about being part of the group, is that it's always a conversation of what would be cool and what can we do. And right now there are no limits to it, right? Because it's all within our control. It's all within our, sphere of influence, so to speak. It's been a lot of fun. And trying to keep up with Tim Lim from Common America is really difficult. So I don't even try anymore. Tim, you go at a very specific speed, and I don't run at that speed, nor do I produce at your speed. So I'm just going to stay over here. But what's great is, again, within us being pals, it's always lifting each other up and moving each other forward. So that's been really, really good.
Well, what people don't realize is that Tim has had his brain put into a robot body.
Yeah,
so
I don't think Tim is one person. I think Tim is 6 people.
He's got a whole production house of Tim clones.
Actually,
I asked him who does
off the gas though, didn't he?
Did he step off? Well, okay, to be fair, Tim stepping off the gas means he went from like 500 miles an hour to 400 miles.
Yeah, he was working a little too hard.
That's not really a gas
step back and started just working more than most people.
Yeah, Tim stepping off the gas is him only working twice as hard as most people, as opposed to 4 times.
6 times as hard.
We've got
it's been fun. It's been really, really fun.
Salhi Akibe, glad you're all doing well. Happy New Year's. Thank you, Kirkle. I did email you when you last butchered my name. Well, I think I got your last name right here, right this time. And I definitely got your email. I would definitely be waiting to hear back from me. I took a little week off for the holidays, so I quite enjoyed that one. I hope you enjoyed your New Year's Eve, brother. Had a good time. He says, also in Batman 130, wasn't too bad compared to past issues in the storyline. He fell from the sky onto the ocean and didn't die from the impact. Well, he fell from the moon. He fell from
just
the moon
actually
and
that guy, Wes?
How am I getting out of this one, Robin?
He couldn't breathe. There's no oxygen. He didn't have a mask on.
It was super dumb.
He had duct tape, a straw, and
he made it.
I saw panels of that. I don't know if you guys are the same way. I saw panels from that when somebody was showing. I think it was on Wes's show. Did you cover that, Wes, on one of your videos, or was it someplace else that I saw it?
It was likely.
It was ridiculous. Like the premise of it. The moment I saw it, my brain broke, and I'm like, I'm not going to stick around for this. This is silly. I'm not going to look at this anymore.
The bad thing is that story arc up until that moment was like really hot. It was really good.
It was building and building and
liked
building.
It was Sully.
I liked it, Wes. I've been loving the Zdarsky's run, and I even enjoyed it. I know it was crazy, it was far-fetched, it was a bit stupid, but it was like, okay, how is he going to get out of this? Let's see what Chip can do. And he wrote his way out of it in a way, even though it doesn't make any sense.
I don't think he did write his way out of it. I think he painted himself into a corner, and then he just introduced Poochie. Like it was just. It was one of those things where it's like his ambition with the story, and I gotta respect that. You know, he had an ambitious story that he wanted to tell. Yeah. But I think, maybe he just kind of like wrote himself into a corner, didn't know how to get himself out of it, and then kind of put together a bunch of contrivances that were even for comic books were pretty ridiculous. But I mean, it definitely damages that story. But I think that. I think Zdarsky's a strong writer, and I think we'll continue to get good stories out of him. So,
guys, the art, you can forgive him because of the art. Come on, the art is...
Yeah, art's gorgeous.
Unfortunately, Jorge's not going to be on the book anymore.
Why do we start infusing comic books with like so much, hey, is that believable? You know what I mean? Like, at what point did we cross the threshold of like,
most of what Batman does isn't believable, and I'm willing to accept that. But once you park him next to the moon with no equipment, stranded in space, and he actually makes it back to Earth and then aims for the Fortress of Solitude from space and lands there safely, it's like
survives re-entry.
In my opinion, you missed on that one. Sometimes you hit a grand slam, sometimes you walk back to the dugout with your head down.
Listen, you throw out some pseudoscience and you're fine. Star Trek used to do it all the time. It's like, oh, we're in this crazy predicament. How do we get out of it? And they'd have some bullshit answer. They'd be like, well, we'll rearrange the tachyon to, or we'll rearrange the deflector array and emit a tachyon pulse, and that'll free us from this situation. And they would do that all the time, and you'd go, okay, yeah, fine. This is made up technology. I can't argue with it. But
I'm with Aaron. I'd rather take a story in which a writer and artist, combo go for like the crazy batshit stuff than to go safe, right? Because safe is like we've seen at a bunch of. Oh, to be fair though, Wes dropping in from the moon might be too far, but at least they're trying stuff.
I respect the ambition.
That would have been like it was just a little bit too much, but that's fine. It's better than I don't know, him getting a cat out of a tree, I guess.
You can bend, the suspension of disbelief. You can really bend it, but you can't break it. And that broke it. So, it's like, it's a real fine line to walk. But, again, like I said.
There was no spacesuit. There was no oxygen tank. He just went into re-entry. That's the image.
He finds an oxygen tank after he's been in space.
He MacGyvered it. That's part of, like, I guess for me, liking it.
You didn't realize he would have been frozen solid in seconds, right?
From the moon to the Earth.
Exploded as soon as he tried to breathe.
He's the patron saint of problem solving. I mean, I get it. It's ridiculous.
Then solve the problem. Don't just BS your way out of it.
My Batman would have had like a Legion flight ring, which has a microscopic thin atmosphere.
That would have made more sense.
That would have
put
an
it in the
emergency
DC universe.
GL ring or something, like a one-time use Green Lantern ring. You know what I mean? Just for something like this.
He had a wish that he banked in the 80s. He's been waiting to cash it.
No, he when he got teleported out to space, he found a way to make it to eternity, and he was granted one wish, and that wish was, to come back to Earth. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm confusing that with the terrible Thor: Love and Thunder movie.
He didn't get teleported. He got crashed because he was going to the moon to hide.
He farted on the Mobius chair, and there's a little part of him he left behind.
Yeah,
I would say spoilers for all of this, but clearly I didn't read the issue. Like, I don't know which part of that is actually true.
I think
because
people
all of
that
that
were reading Batman weren't exactly skipping issues and letting the pile get high, because it really was good. Like, you were ready for that issue. You're like, oh my goodness, how is he going to get out of this?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, nothing that you guys have said turns me off from wanting to read these books. Like the guy.
You can check it out. The art is amazing. Jorge Jimenez.
All right, listen.
The
I'm buying more stuff
really
now
good.
as we talk.
And it's hilariously dumb, Eric. Like, it broke the story, but it's still like you can still like have a good time with it. It's like bad movie.
Chip Zdarsky uses the Batman as Zernar about 2 or 3 issues before this planet fall thing. He got like really all over the place with it.
All right, so let's see. We got Common Sense. You said Hawkman, and maybe you remember Hawkman and Hawkwoman, the Changeling, from the second round robin, is publishing as a short story with the finalists. That's true. They are doing a bunch of short stories with those finalists. Them having their son. The son obviously is in DC Comics history, but Hawkman is a difficult character. We'll see how that one goes. But I love Hawkman. I hope that we get to see him in 2023. Based on the teaser stuff, what we saw for Dawn of DCU, Hawkman should be there somewhere. At least definitely tease that. Kenneth Alex says, I'm headed to church. Hope you all have a great day. A few hero fights I've never voted on. Deathstroke, Terminator beats Spade, and I take 8-man over Vampire Hunter D. 8-man wins, please. You're crazy. Vampire Hunter D would get the job done. But Happy New Year, Kenneth, and I hope you have a wonderful day at church.
Vampire Hunter D gets my vote as well, because he's got a big Darkwing Duck style hat. So
exactly,
can't beat that hat.
Absolutely, love seeing it. Kenneth, I hope you had a great time celebrating. Lade Kraber, Aaron is the Justice League Ruby movie guaranteed to be WB's first fail of the year. Megan Fitzmartin wrote the script. By the end, Clark Bruce make out session.
I don't know anything about this project.
I don't know.
This is the first I've heard of it.
This Ruby crossover stuff with the DC stuff. I don't think anyone cares about that Ruby stuff. I know they acquired it when was it Crunchy? Whatever one of those manga things that they did.
I know exactly one person that was excited about it. My friend Brian, and because he likes Ruby.
You're not friends anymore, right? You ditched.
Well, no, I'd like not this movie necessarily, but just the comic crossover that they did. He was reading that, but that wasn't written by
him, right, Aaron? Because he liked this Ruby.
No, I always I always give people the room to like the things that they like, and it's like everybody's got the
dismissal, sir.
Everybody's got their own taste, but in fairness, I don't think the comic was written by Megan Fitzmartin, so that's probably why he was enjoying it.
I think it was oh my goodness, it was the lady that was writing Batgirl, doing it was kind of good. Savage,
Marguerite Savage.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Was that or Marguerite Bennett, one or the other?
No, I think it was Savage.
I think so too. Well, I pulled that one out of my ass. Sally Akibe. I'm referring to the absurdity of the previous issues when he fell from the sky into the ocean in an attempt to contact Aquaman. Yes, he also hid out in Atlantis, trying to stay away from Failsafe. They really built Failsafe up, Eric. Like, you have no idea. He destroyed the entire Justice League single-handedly.
Yeah.
I bought like a ton of issues right now. I'm looking forward to reading it during my time down.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I hope you enjoy it.
We'll see.
You're gonna like it.
You're getting me back into DC Comics, Wes. This whole panel is. I'm a Marvel guy.
My video tomorrow, the best of the year. I got 3 DC Comics as the best of the year so far.
Try the Flash now. Jeremy Adams, the Flash. That's where it's really at.
That one might make it.
Yeah.
Batman, Superman.
Yeah, get on Jeremy Adams, the Flash, before Tom Taylor hamstrings him and takes his job.
You got it.
Absolutely. No. That's the word I got. Sally Akube also says, Like the entire arc was absurd, not just 130 from the fact that he fought a robot hand to hand and survived hits in a robot that destroyed Superman. It is true, the robot did mess up Superman and every other superhero that he crossed paths with. That's why I kind of like the robot. He only wants to murder him because he thinks that he murdered Penguin.
Yeah.
The two wrongs make a right if you're a robot, you know what I mean?
Yes, Lisa, two wrongs make a right.
All right.
Robots have no feelings, Wes. No feelings.
He's only programmed to destroy.
Yeah.
Roddy Boy Comics right here at the PI. Happy New Year's, Wes and Aficionados. Good evening. Welcome back, Eric. Great panel every week. Hoping for even better comic books this year. Absolutely.
Which Eric?
All the Erics, I think.
Three Erics. Who needs the three Jokers? When you have
Breen. Everyone likes Breen the best, don't they?
I would think that is Breen, but
Is Breen's everyone's favorite. He's like that cool uncle that brings you comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you your first taste of beer when you're like 8. No? All right. Sorry.
See,
Breen.
Breen would bring you good comic books. He wouldn't bring you trash. It would be a curated selection,
guys. Sorry.
If you're looking for good comic books in 2023, definitely be looking at Iconic, definitely looking at Merc Publishing, and stay tuned to the channel. We'll still have the best of the week every single week right here on the channel, although I'm skipping this week because we're doing best of the year. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, and Happy New Year, Roddy Boy. We've also got Joey R75. Eric, Spider-Man shouldn't be sexy. You drew him weird. He's an effing Spider-Man. Thank you.
I read that in chat and I'm like, I can't figure out if he likes the way I drew Spider-Man.
He likes it because he didn't have the hands. You know what I mean? Everyone always wants to put the hams on Spider-Man like he's got this great butt. He's a Spider-Man. He should be weird.
Listen, put Eric on a new #1, the svelte, sexy Spider-Man.
Yeah. Let's sell absolutely 0 issues of that when I get on that book. That'd be awesome.
People have to just throw money at you. They'll be like, what?
Yeah, no, I remember getting on that book and they said, hey, we like your take on Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. I said, you like that? I'm going to break it 5 more times, and then left the country to go on vacation. And then everybody started hating on it. And I was like, this is awesome. This feels like
you made an impression.
I did. I'd rather take that reaction than okay, that's nice. Let's move on to the next guy.
Yeah. Nothing to remember there. Yep. Sally Akibe says, Eric Canetti, read Batman, Superman, World's Finest, Nightwing, and The Man Who Stopped Laughing. DC had some great runs.
Batman, this show is starting to get really expensive, Wes. This show is starting to get really expensive.
Be careful.
I know what you're feeling. The channel, you gotta step on one of the comic books. But absolutely, Batman, Superman, World's Finest is the one there. I like the Nightwing series, but it doesn't really go anywhere. But yeah, there's definitely some good stuff from DC right now. Chris the Bliss, also from right here in the PI. I think he's in Cebu. Happy New Year, brother. Happy New Year, man. Hope you're having a good time. I believe he's also a comic book colorist. Good guy, Chris. So I think we got through them all. Let's get into the biggest comic news stories of 2022. There were a lot of things that happened this year, Aaron Sparrow. We had Eric July almost sell $4 million of comic books on his website. We've got comic book creators not getting paid. We had Superman, Son of Kal-El getting canceled despite worldwide exposure. What did you think was the biggest comic book news story of 2022?
I do think it's probably Eric July making $4 million, almost $4 million on a comic book. He marketed it well. He built an audience. He created a hunger. And, whether people were buying it because they were interested in the story or people were buying it because they support kind of his take on things, I think is immaterial. I think that people will pick up the book and they'll read it and they'll judge it on its own merits from there. Obviously, with every comic book, there's people that just buy it and put it in a sleeve and never open it up. But I think that's probably definitely the biggest story. And then I think the biggest failure of in comics is obviously people not getting paid, but let's be honest, that's been going on for a really long time. That was happening, back when I know an artist that did a bunch of Disney work for Boom after I was gone, and he still has not been paid. As soon as they lost the license, they just cut all ties with him, and he tried to get paid, for several issues, and they just stiffed him because he's in another country and they can get away with it. So it's really unfortunate. You got to be careful who you do business with. You got to make sure that you've got editors that'll fight for you and fight for you to get your money. I've always been one of those editors. I will always try to get you paid fortunately, I work with companies like Merck, which are really conscientious about getting their people paid and getting them paid in a timely fashion. So that's been really nice. And then fail of the year goes to Son of Kal-El. What an absolute disaster! You're on every news channel, and yet the book is non-sustainable. So yeah, a lot of interesting things happening this year.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that people are talking about, like late payment or non-payment, because I'm like, I haven't been in mainstream in forever, but that's not new news. That's been happening. I don't know why that's suddenly part of the news cycle again. That was odd to read. I'm like, oh, you guys are discovering that people haven't been getting paid or being paid late. That's weird to me.
I think what's new is the fact that people are now willing to. The industry is fragile enough, and that people actually have the courage to come out and talk about it. The comic book industry largely, unfortunately, runs on a policy of silence. Everybody's in little cliques, and if you speak up on anything, you'll get blacklisted, and you won't get any more work. And that's what everybody's afraid of. That's how they keep everybody in line, and that's why they're able to take advantage of you. They're able to take advantage of you because you have the dream of getting into comics. You love it so much that you're willing to break your back to do it, and they take advantage of you in that respect. And then they know that there's a culture of fear. Part of the reason that I've always been on the kind of the fringes of the independent comics is because I don't have that attitude of fear. I can go make money elsewhere. I love comics, but I don't have to be in comics. Sure. And the market has changed now to where if I'm not in mainstream comics, I'm not working for a publisher, I can go self-publish and I can make a ton of money. I've got enough of an audience. I've got enough people that appreciate what I do. And you don't need the big two anymore. So I think that's why people are starting to step up. I think that's why they have that bravery to come out and say, like, hey, I haven't been paid, and I haven't been paid by these companies. And it's inspiring other people to do the same. And it's kind of tearing away that veneer. When you have editors who are going out and saying on Twitter, if you do thus and so, I will not only not hire you, but I will try to blacklist you from this industry the way a guy at Boom did recently. Now, granted, he was talking about AI art and not about talking about payment. But still, when you have them openly going out and saying what, used to be secret, that the industry is starting to crack.
Yep. Somebody's mentioning your audio again, Aaron.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back.
How about for you, Sully? Biggest deal this year?
My big news was coming back to comic books. I was on a lapse since Heroes in Crisis. I gave up on DC comic books. It broke my heart. I'm a huge Wally West fan. I didn't see anything good about that comic book, and I'm just a huge DC fan. I'm a lifelong comics fan. I buy comic books. That's and I love talking about comic books, and I've missed it. And I missed going to my local comic book shop and spending my money there. And I'm just so grateful that they survived through lockdown 2020 and that they were able to keep their business afloat. That this show and these panels gave me the gumption to go and hey, I'm gonna try Jeremy Adams' title. I'm gonna try some Joshua Williamson. Hey, Jeff Johns got a new title. I'm in. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. So I'm a little leery on Marvel. I'm a huge X-Men, Spider-Man fan, and just that Marvel's a little bit toxic, man, in a way. I've been blocked by so many creators on Twitter, in these group blogs, and it's listen, I got blocked by Tom King after Heroes in Crisis because I gave it to him, and I got it coming, and I deserve that, and I can respect that. To be on some kind of weird group list because I'm adjacent, it's just really weird. So I don't want to spend my money with Marvel.
Yeah.
So I've come back to my biggest story is that I came back to buying DC comics and other smaller comics too. I'm a big fan of the Indiegogos, of what you're doing, that entire the bad boy culture. They're funny. It's like watching wrestling over there, man. Seriously. and for these people to take those people so seriously is part of the problem.
Yeah, it's a bad time to be an X-Men fan. I can tell you that much.
Man, I came in and bought Hickman's 1 and a couple of issues of Powers of 10 and House of X, and those were so delicious. Those were so fun. I mean, I've been an X-Men fan since before issue 200. All that Claremont, Claremont, J.R. Jr. stuff, Tom Warachowski lettering. Oh God, sign me up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my biggest story is I'm buying new comics once
That's
again.
awesome.
I'm a happy fan. Thank you for asking.
You just have to. It's not that there's not good new comics. It's just they're few and far between, and you have to be very choosy. Like if you just try and jump in on everything, you're going to end up disappointed. You're going to end up walking away,
clogging up your resources, such as your long boxes and things. I can't. I have never bought a Leah Williams issue. I've never bought a Vita Ayala issue. I've never bought a Stephanie Phillips. Exactly. But I don't, it doesn't seem that I need to be investing in that art and that kind of style of storytelling and those magazines, which are not probably going to, evolve in value, gain value. So it's best to stay away out of that conversation. I actually don't, when those names get brought up, I literally have nothing to say. I don't have any experience with them. So I'd rather be hey, I'm going to go with what I know. And it's been great coming back.
That's probably healthier for you, man.
It is
probably much healthier for you.
Yeah.
Financially, emotionally, mentally, psychologically.
We invest so much into our hobby. Comic books are a great hobby, but not from a creator's standpoint. You're a professional. But for me, I love spending my money at the comic book shop. From when I was a kid, we had spinner racks and newsstands, and then we could roll them up and stick them in your back pocket with your pocket change. And just it's all changed since then. But being an adult, where do I put my disposable income? I put them into comic books. Because
I thought you were going to say script club. Get my dollar.
That's Doc.
That's not Doc. So, Kade, did you see all the big threads where people weren't getting paid? It seems like from every publisher, Marvel, DC, all the smaller publishers. Are you surprised that's happening?
No, I was just talking about it while you were away, which is like, I don't know why people are talking about this right now. I've heard this a bazillion times back when I was working in the industry. This isn't new news. And to Aaron's point, I think it's because people are finally starting to take the step forward with the kind of tools that they have at their disposal, which is like social media. They can talk about it publicly and then people jump in and dogpile on that. But this shouldn't be anything new. This stuff was getting brought up back when I was working, and at least in my experience, a little bit more aggressively, right? Like the heartbreaking part about that post, was it Robson? Is that the fellow's name?
Yeah.
That first brought it up. The heartbreaking part about that was like, he was afraid of being blackballed. And I go, bro, stop it. Stop. You're making it, you're making it seem like there's a secret handshake that there's a secret room that you're stepping out of and talking poorly about guys who are not conducting themselves as professionals. And to Sully's like attitude of like, oh, I'm getting too emotionally involved in this situation, in which I'm like, that pile of poop that's over there. It's heartbreaking to me, but I always think of it as, you chose to go into that industry knowing, without doing your sort of like behind the scenes vetting, that it's not a healthy concept. You stepped into that, and you're hoping for the best. Obviously, potentially that could have been a dream of yours to work for that company. But man, I hope that that's a learning moment for you to be like, I need to go do something else.
Yeah, when I was first wanting to get into comics, of course, the idea was that you go in, man, I really want to work for Marvel, man, I really want to work for DC. And over time, like I don't have that desire anymore. And part of that is why I'm able to kind of just fearlessly call out these things. I don't have any fear of not working for these companies because I don't care about working for these companies. They've lowered their stock so much. It's like, even if you get a Marvel title, you're not getting a Marvel title at Marvel's heyday back, when you loved Marvel. You're getting it in modern Marvel, where you're going to have to take into account a bunch of continuities from writers that shouldn't be on books. Why would you want to do that? And then what are they going to blacklist you from? They're going to blacklist you from their low pay and maybe their non-payment. Even Marvel is having payment problems right now. Now, I hear that that's because they had some secret layoffs and they gutted a lot of the departments, including accounting. I don't think they have a cash flow problem, although they may soon, because it seems like Disney's going to be running into some cash flow problems. Their stock is plummeting. There's all kinds of problems going on there. So, the big parent company, their things may get a lot more complicated in 2023. So, have an out for yourself, like have another source of income. And if you want to do this, just understand the risks that you're taking, even with the big companies right now.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, in my time working in the mainstream, I'd never had payment issues. So the personnel that they had back then, I would say, just in as far as what they the job that they needed to do, they were on top of it. I never once sent in a voucher or an invoice and it not pay out in the expected time. So I don't know what's happened between, well, that was like decades ago. So I don't know what's happened between decades ago to now, but I never had those kinds of issues.
Everything has gotten a little bit worse. It's like entropy has set in at these companies. It's like the editorial, much worse. We got people like Jordan White just completely ruining characters for God knows how long. I don't know that X-Men can come back. I think Hickman was the last chance that book had. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Genuinely can. I was maybe naive and like completely stupid about it, but those characters have so much cachet. And you can do so much with them. It's just you've got to get the right leadership to come back. I remember the exact same thing. Anytime that I work on a project that's like a relaunch, I've worked on like between Tron and Masters of the Universe, where all of those IPs conceptually could have been dead and or in hibernation, but you put right leadership in place. They're eternal. Those things can work. You just have to have the kind of people who actually believe the potential and have the kind of long-term planning that it needs for it to succeed.
Oh yeah, I think the characters can come back. I just don't know if I just don't know if we're ever going to see the leadership. The way that things are going, I don't know.
We're talking about pay, right? Like we're just talking about like people falling short of paying people on time, and that to me is an infrastructure issue where you go like, if you can't shore that up, if you can't conduct yourself as a professional industry in a business, you are not going to attract the kind of personnel that want to come back into it and kind of help revive it, right?
How much money would it take, Eric? You and I taking over X-Men. How much money?
Probably $15 and a couple of Burger King coupons. I'd do it next for nothing. I have that much love for that IP where if they said, hey, you're not going to be making money for a while, but you want to come back here and like help revive this thing in a heartbeat, I wouldn't even blink. I'd be like, yeah.
I think I'm in the same boat because
I want to be part of that.
I like the challenge. And, just the idea of going back in and can I fix this? That's why I always say, like, it would be fun to work on a character like Miss Marvel or even Captain Marvel. And it's like, can you fix this character? Can you fix the damage that's been done? And because, I do love what these characters used to be. Yep.
I'm more talking about the kid that was reading those X-Men issues. I'm like, I can't let that kid down, So I don't want to go back and do something about it. But yeah.
And that's how they get us.
My wife would not let me. She'd ask like, how much are they paying you? I'm like, $15 in Burger King coupons, and they're like, no. You need to provide. You need to keep the lights on in the house.
No, I get it. I was like I said, I was willing to do. I was willing to do Dynamite at Darkwing, even at Dynamite rates. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
So Breed, you're being awful quiet. What do you think was the biggest comic news of the year?
I'm being awful quiet because I think I'm having major computer problems.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, buddy.
No, I'd say that I agree with Aaron. The Eric July success was huge.
Yeah.
And I think
I assumed it would be successful, but I didn't, going over 4 or near 4 million is pretty successful.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Bought his mom a house.
Is that included in Brian Hibb's annual?
Probably not. No. I do know crowdfunding is factored into like the ICB2 stuff, but not in the MPD book scan that he was looking at when he was talking about those numbers.
And I think the biggest failure is the continuing divorce from reality that the mainstream industry has in thinking there's not a problem. And I know a lot of it has to do with it. They want a totally different audience, and they're going to get that way come hell or high water. But the sales is big too. I work in a comic shop. Wednesday mornings are no big deal anymore. And I know DC goes on sale a day before, but it's still, there's nothing the industry can do now to bring people into the comic book shop in any kind of appreciable numbers. And I think that's,
none of their tried and true, ways that they can get people excited. They just don't work. You can't do relaunches. You can't do events. You can't do crossovers anymore, really.
Well, it's if everything's an event, nothing's an event. And they do sell a little better, but that's because what other choice do you have? Every book now is tied to an event.
Well, the choice that you have is walking away. putting your money into something else, putting your money into independent comics, into crowdfunding, investing in other universes. And that's what we saw with Eric July is you see people who are just that, there's just a lot of fans out there that are hungry for this. We love this medium. We want good stories. I don't want the X-Men to suck. I want them to be awesome. And you get called a hater and you get called all these things because you call out, and you criticize these things. But if you can't take criticism, what are you doing in this industry? You can't create art and not expect to get criticized. If you just want smoke blown up your ass, then get a friend with a pack of cigarettes and a linked garden hose. As a creative, you need to be able to take people's feedback, and these are the customers. That's the thing that people forget. We call them fans, and then we kind of take them for granted in this industry. But they are paying customers, and you as a creative are in the customer service business because you're asking people to lay down their hard-earned cash for these things. And that's where the industry is failing, is it's forgotten to serve the customer.
They don't.
Can I ask you this? Like, we often talk about like the people who are like being shunned, and obviously like to Sully's point, he's getting blocked now by these creators, right? Like, but is it sustainable enough from the people who love, or is there such a thing, the people who love the current titles as they are? Is there enough sustainability there? Because clearly when we're talking about it, all the dramatic stuff, all the sexy stuff, which is like, oh, this sucks, this is poor, this is really this is really poorly done. That obviously makes it onto the algorithm that is YouTube, right? But is there enough of a foundation of people who actually love the titles that can kind of keep it afloat, or is that naive, which typically I am?
I don't think we've hit the breaking point now where things aren't making money. I think obviously, DC's still making money. But it's one of those things where it's like, are you talking about, it's like the Maxwell Shrek comment in Batman Returns. Are you talking about growth, or are you talking about a mild swelling? And the industry keeps
Batman's like
shrinkage.
keeping DC afloat. They ruined sales on Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Flash, like all the titles that normally would have been good selling. Really, it's Nightwing is one of the only titles outside of a Batman series, and that's related to Batman, that is actually selling. And it's kind of the same thing over at Marvel. But even X-Men, despite being like the most popular team of books that you can find, in comic books, even those numbers have kind of died. Like the regular X-Men title isn't, a top 5 perennial selling title. It's top 20 now. And, you got other X-Men titles that are below 15,000 units. That's insane.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely ridiculous. And these things could be so much better. Let us love you, comics. We want to love you. Put talented people on there. Get editorial in there that understands the characters. Someone in the chat, I think his last name was Cruz. I saw a really great comment from him, and he said, one of the main problems at Marvel right now is that the writers that they bring on, they don't know the characters, they don't know the lore, they don't know what's come before, and they ignore all that, and they just kind of write what they write them and their friends, like the Leah Williams Exterminators panels that have been floating around, just an absolute, we're talking about piss. It's just obviously she's writing her and her friends, and it's not funny, it's not fun, it's not interesting, it's not engaging, and it's not, and it's not nicely done. It's not what fans want. And for whatever fandom it is, whether it's comics or it's people watching The Witcher on Netflix, and and we get told these fandoms are toxic. No, these fandoms know the characters, and they know them better than the people that are creating them. That's why Henry Cavill walked off The Witcher, because he loves those books, he loves those video games, and the people that are writing it, we heard from the show, one of the people that was on the show that's now over doing X-Men 97, they hate the source material, they actively loathe it, and they want to subvert it. And you've got to stop hiring people with that attitude. You've got to hire people with the love. The MCU, what did we see? Oh, we don't like to hire comic book writers. We don't like to hire people that know these characters. Well, that's your problem with Phase 4. The Russos liked comic books, and they liked those characters, and they delivered billion-dollar movies. And now you've got diminishing returns because you're bringing in people like Jessica Gao on She-Hulk, who talks about liking She-Hulk, but you've never expressed any interest in She-Hulk before you were on the show, and you clearly don't understand the character, and you wanted to write a legal drama, but you didn't know how to do that.
That's a great point. I mean, look at the old writers from the 20 years ago, Warren Ellis, Grant Morrison, Jeff Johns. These people had an encyclopedic knowledge of DC and Marvel characters from the golden age to the current age. It was amazing the way they would play with these action figures and these stories they would create. You don't have that kind of love, and it's not encouraged either. from the editorial, from my point of view here.
You know what's crazy? They had like TMNT The Last Ronin, where you go out there, you know, obviously it's originally inspired obviously by Eastman and Laird, but it's reconfigured and published today. And it's a pretty good take. You know, it's a Dark Knight Returns version of TMNT, and it blows out sales on everything, including what DC and Marvel were putting out, because they finally did something that TMNT fans wanted. And then when you go and look at the regular sales of TMNT, which should be pretty substantial for IDW, it's their number one book, and you're like, oh, they dwindled off to under like 17,000, whereas they're able to sell 85 or 90,000 units of something that's actually true to the characters. The people are actually telling them, Eric Canetti, what they want. They just, for some reason, they don't listen.
Yeah. Yeah. How deep are they in their catalog as far as like their backstories, where they feel compelled to have to print the stuff that they have? I'm always curious as to how quickly they can right the ship in the moment of, right? If it's like 12 issues deep, 13 issues deep, or a year's worth of work, is it smart for them to abandon all of that and like course correct in the middle of it? Is there something like that? Because you want to say as a comic book company, or at least as a creative endeavor company, you want to be as agile as possible, right? And sometimes you're so committed down this particular path where you go, there's no way for us to course correct in the middle of this. Is that not something that they can do?
Listen, in the military, my philosophy as a leader was always, bad news doesn't age like wine. It never gets better. It only gets worse with time. If you don't address what's wrong, it's not going to get, you know, the longer you wait to address it, the longer it's going to take to actually fix it. So if you wait till 12 issues into something that you know isn't working, you know, you've wasted like 6 months to try and course correct. And the longer that you wait, the longer it takes to eventually fix something.
I'll tell you something.
That this is like years already, right? This isn't like this isn't just 12 issues. From my understanding, this is a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
Specifically Marvel, it's like 5 or 10 years into it. And then DC, I would say it's more like 2.
That's right.
And they abandoned Rebirth.
I'll tell you something interesting about the Ninja Turtles. Before Last Ronin came out, I worked on a series of pitches for to kind of revitalize the Ninja Turtles with Jesse Blaze Snyder, and he turned it into IDW. And the response that he and there was a lot of elements of the Last Ronin in our pitch. Like we had an idea for Raphael that was, you know, kind of similar to the Last Ronin. I'm not saying that that they took that and that it was stolen. I'm just saying it's you know, obviously the Last Ronin's an idea that was on the table. And Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird tapped into that. And that's what Jesse and I were doing, is we're looking at all these things that were on the table. And we gave him this pitch. And John Barber came back to Jesse Snyder and was like, well, I'm not going to give you a franchise like the Ninja Turtles, you know, with kind of like this attitude. And so what happened, he gave it to a friend of his, and it turned into a Jenica fanfic. And, you know, sales. And you could have had something great. And that's another problem with the industry, is people handing things to their friends who, you know, maybe don't have the best idea, or you know, maybe aren't going to, you know, put in the work because they've got, you know, they're not hungry. They don't have that desire, and they don't know the characters, and they don't want to, you know, they don't want to go out there and deliver the best possible product for the customers. I want to give the customers exactly what they want in a way that they don't expect, you know, so that they're surprised, but they're pleased at the end of the day. And you have to tap into kind of like that fandom and know what it is that your customers are after in order to have a successful run. And the people in charge of these properties largely just don't have that. They don't have the interest, and they don't have the ability.
You know, Gray, I just want to get your perspective on this one. Obviously, I'm in the Philippines. You're in Japan. You're in the Philippines, not a very rich country. There's a lot of people that you know, don't make a ton of money. Comic books are very expensive. Everything is sold at American prices plus 20% just to get a comic book here. There's only one city that even has a comic shop in the Philippines anymore. And I know 30 years ago, almost every major city here had comic book shops, and a lot of like the little drugstores and stuff here would have had them on spinner racks, and the older gentlemen in the neighborhood would get all the comics. They'd give them all the kids and stuff. Not even a part of the culture anymore. Do you see American comic books kind of disappearing in Japan as well, which seems like a pretty fervent audience when it comes to comic books?
Absolutely. Whereas it sounds a very similar situation. In Japan, you can only get American comic books physically in the major cities. So you got to go to Tokyo, Osaka, or somewhere like that. I'm in a small kind of countryside town. I'm miles away from anywhere. So I have to buy digital. It's very sad. So I don't know what the like how popular they were before, say 20 years ago before I got here, but I know there were always comic book shops, in major cities, so there's definitely a market here. The thing is with Japan, as everyone knows, manga is huge, but I don't know if people realize manga in Japan is selling more on digital, especially
it's like 70
on
to
the
30
apps.
digital to physical.
Yeah. So
Korea's the same way.
Yeah. I miss physical copies, mate. I really do. I occasionally can get some by ordering from that shop in Tokyo, but they only stock the major characters, Marvel, DC, and Spawn, which I'm enjoying, by the way.
Yeah, Spawn's been really good. There's another example that you can do things right. Image is actually having like one of their best years since like the 90s right now. They had like 2 titles in the top 100 for 5 or 6 years, and now they have like 10 that were up there in the top 100. All the Spawn books are selling really good. There's a couple of other independent comic books out there that were perennial like top 30, top 50 sellers. Like Image really came back, and they kind of elevated themselves along with Boom, by DC and Marvel were kind of fumbling everything.
They picked up a lot of slots as DC has receded.
Right. I was going to ask the panel, why do you think that is? Is it Todd McFarlane's masterstroke? Is it keeping the price at $2.99, or is it just getting really good artists and having fun stories?
It's
a
all of
little
those.
bit of everything, but
It's
I
all
think
of
people
those.
like that shared universe, and you're getting that to a degree with the Spawn stuff. It kind of all ties together a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I'm buying all 4 titles, whereas a year and a half ago, I'd never read Spawn before. So there we go.
Oh, leading up to issue 300? When you got back on? Yeah.
That's when I jumped into it, yeah.
It was brilliant when McFarlane dropped that price point to $2.99, and he was literally the only comic book on the market for adults at that price point Because a lot of people said, well, I've heard of Spawn, might as well check out the book.
He's the last guy to raise prices on his figures, too. I saw him in New York City, New York Comic Con this year. I got to meet him for the first time, which was amazing, because I've been a fan of his since he was on the Hulk. And he was saying during the panel, he said, like, everybody else sees the price of, the price of plastic is going to go up, and they raise their prices immediately. And he's like, and I'm still holding the line at $20 on these figures with, unique tooling. Everybody else is reusing the same parts and things like that. I'm doing unique tooling on most of my figures, and I'm holding the price at $20. He goes, and my accountant's like, what are you doing? And he's like, listen, I don't want all of your money. I just want some of your money. Like he basically, he was really thankful. He was like, you guys have been with me for the longest time, all the fans, the action figure fans, the comic book fans. He goes, you've afforded me a very nice lifestyle. The least that I can do to give back is to try to give you things at a reasonable price point. I don't have to make all the money on this. I can just make a little money, and that's fine, as long as we're going.
Also, the comics, mate, the quality of the comics. This is a Spawn, King Spawn comic. It's cardstock covers, $2.99. It's great paper quality. I managed to get a recent new Marvel comic, and it was like, I'm not joking, it's like tracing paper. Ridiculous.
Yeah. It's really? Even the covers. They were using like the interior paper.
Is it the same stock for the interior as the covers?
Yes.
No, it's not, but it's
he's talking about Marvel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah, the covers, like, they will melt in your hands if you've got, like, if it's hot. Like the Philippines, if it's hot and sticky and sweaty, Wes, where you are, the cover will melt in your hands.
Yul Carter says that he sells as much Spawn as he does
Not
Captain
your mouth.
America. Which is a pretty bad indictment on Captain America.
And that's pretty bad sales on Spawn if it's down at Captain America level, because Captain America right now is not a good book.
No, it actually was dropping out of the top 100.
There's a correlation in as far as like how the public perceives you, especially how you conduct yourself when it comes to like the output of your product. If they're being printed on really poor paper, right?
Yeah.
There's only so many ways that somebody can translate sort of like how you see your own product. There's a reason why like a successful company will put something out like a Todd McFarlane and say, like, I'm going to put this on cardstock, really, really good paper, make profit, but at a specific margin, because I know this product needs to look good. If you're a major comic book company and you're putting out product on like tracing paper and the ink comes off on your hands, the public is going to look at that and be like, do you guys even care about this? That's a really bad way to represent your overall business.
You know what's crazy, really Kennedy? Carrie Andrews did like a faux chromium cover for X-Men Legends. Absolutely brilliant art. And they printed it on that stupid like interior paper, and it couldn't handle the ink, and it ended up looking like absolute garbage, ruining what was an awesome idea for a cover.
Sure.
It's because they don't care.
No, but
they just don't
pissed
care.
off Carrie Andrews.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is a cool cover. Like, this thing should have blown up. But it's too bad. What's happening here. But hey, we did have the success of ISOM, and we have seen comic sales blow up. It's just they're kind of leaving Marvel and DC by the wayside, but Boom is blowing up. We've got Image kind of blowing up. It doesn't look like IDW and Valiant are going to make it, but there's always going to be winners and losers, unfortunately.
Heather Ontos going over to Boom in 2023 when IDW folds.
Hopefully not.
You heard it here first.
Aaron, no, please no.
Let's hear it for the people. We got some super chats. Lane Kramer says, the best moment in comics, fandom, or industry in 2022 was Gabe's reaction to T. Franklin on Justice League suggestion. Future thinking critical thumbnail material. Gabe, you may have given him an aneurysm. He looked like he was in a lot of pain right there. We're lucky he didn't fall over on the street. Galvin says, I found out someone talked to Alyssa Wong at New York City Comic Con. She said her Iron Fist was supposed to be ongoing, but ended because Marvel Editorial canceled if they agreed to let her use the axe tie-in as a way to wrap it up. It's kind of par for the course. They announce everything is ongoing, and then it cancels after 5 issues. I don't even understand what the point of Alyssa Wong's Iron Fist was. It was just to make Iron Fist Asian, but then you ruined Swordmaster, who was a cool character who had his own stuff. It made no sense.
Why don't you just continue to build Swordmaster as an interesting character and keep Iron Fist the way that people have loved him for decades? All of these hand-me-down.
Aaron.
Yeah, well,
all too much sense.
All these hand-me-down identities. Like, is that really what people want?
They had set up a new Iron Fist to take over. Her name was like Pei something. The little girl. It was kind of like his little sidekick. That character was being that's the wrong word. Was being set up to be like the next Iron Fist, and they didn't even use her. They used like this other guy, the Swordmaster character.
You could have built that. You could have built that for years and then paid it off. Part of the reason that I know that back in the day there were some people that were upset that Rhodey took over as Iron Man, but the majority of fans were on board for it because they built to it organically and it made sense at the time.
And it was leading to the redemption of Tony Stark.
Yes, there was a specific storyline in mind, and that gets into the they bent Tony Stark, but they didn't break him. And unfortunately, now writers like Tom King, they come on, like a character like Wally West, and they break them. They fundamentally shatter them so that they're just not usable anymore. And what you have to do is then you have to reboot and you have to wipe out all that continuity. And fans get tired of it.
Can I ask you guys something? And I think this goes back to what we were talking about 10 minutes ago, which is we give these writers and these creators like a lot of grief, and deservedly so for some of them. But there's something to be said about, I always refer to it as like the grown-ups in the room, which is like the editorial staff.
Yes, right? The editorial staff is a big issue.
If I can point at a creator and be like, you did that poorly, that they didn't print that in their garage, and put the Marvel Comics logo on it. That had to go through specific channels to be like, yeah, this is good to go, and we're happy to print this and put our logo on it, and obviously put the history and sort of like the whatever of Marvel Comics or DC Comics behind it. I always look to leadership, always to be like, that's a poor comic. Who let this through the filtering system? Is there
what's crazy? Christopher Priest did an interview talking about his Black Adam series where he places Black Adam with this new character, White Adam. And he freely admits he didn't want to do the idea and he didn't even want to write the comic book, but they kept upping the price on him for what it would cost for him to write their story. It was actually an editor's idea to do this stupid thing. He didn't even want to.
There you go. So if anybody, I don't know who's ultimately listening, but it's like, if you want to get mad at somebody, look inside the credits box and point at the editor and go like, this is a bad idea. This person allowed this thing to happen, right? They, like Tom King, Alyssa, whoever it is, like all the writers that somehow get like all the sexy YouTube videos written about them, right?
Yeah.
They're only partially relevant. End of the day, look at the credits box and like send like all of your ire towards that individual because they're the person who's letting this thing go out the door.
Yeah, I don't think we say that enough. I think that I've tried to say, when Wes and I have had conversations in the past, you can find videos where I've said like, I think that there's writers that have chops. They can put together a script, might actually have some talent in the future, but they're being thrown onto titles too soon, and they're being given editorial. They're either being given no editorial direction, or they're getting bad editorial direction. I think that all the problems, all the excesses, all the terrible things we see coming out of the X-Men office, they all stem from Jordan White. He came on, and his first idea, the Age of X, was awful. And that was his idea. He brags about it. Like, that was his idea for the X-Men. And, so all that runs downhill. So I think you're absolutely right, Eric. We do need to keep that in mind. There are creators that could do well if they had proper mentorship, if they had proper leadership.
And that's another thing I want to help highlight, which is like for every 10 videos or every sort of like whatever, this wall of I can't stand insert creator's name here, there's probably 2 or 3 that are not getting enough of a highlight because they are caught up in the back burner of like a smaller book or a title that doesn't get celebrated as much. And it's like they're doing phenomenal work. Like those people are probably getting left in the back burner because they're not stuck on, like you said, Aaron, they probably have the chops to write. They're just not given these titles. They're not given the premiere stuff that back in the day you used to graduate into X-Men. You start on smaller stuff and you go like, okay, kid, you're amazing now. Come and write this X-Men book, or come and draw this X-Men book.
I remember there was a Deathlock book. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was coming out, and I was actually enjoying it. And I was like, it's a shame that this book is going to get canceled. Like a second issue, I was like, it's going to get canceled. And the problem was because at the time there were like 8 Avengers books, and there were a ton of X-Men books and things like that. So sure. These smaller titles, these creators that are really working their asses off and swinging for the fences, they don't get noticed because there's too many other things. If you're an Avengers fan, you're buying 8 Avengers books. That might take up your whole comic budget. You can't try new things. And I think Marvel's got like 93 books on the new solicitations. Like in 1 month, they're putting out like 93 titles. How can you possibly break out of the pack with that?
Wait, 93 titles, what's the cover price for each of those titles?
Like it's at least $4.99.
The average is probably about $4.50.
Mm-hmm. Holy cow.
Crazy.
DC's is much higher. Their average price is more
like $4.99-ish. I mean, Comic-Con said it was $3.99 back in 2019, and I mean that was a standard for several years with $3.99. I mean, geez, I think it's $4.99 by now.
Common Sense says, "Can someone give this Iron Fist info to Perch like email him? I can't. I would if he was here. Missed that chance months ago." And it relates to Kyrie. I'm assuming that's Carrie Andrews. I'm not sure what information you're talking about. Was that in the chats? I'll try and find it and email it to him. But I'll try and let him know. Joey R75. Eric, I love your Spider-Man. Breen, you wrote Spider-Man? He's talking to Canetti. I want a body horror Spider-Man where he moves weird and has to hide it. He spends all of his energy not looking weird. So much possibilities.
Oh, watch the Venture Brothers then.
There's a book out right now from B. Earl and Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas called Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is absolutely a body horror Spider-Man book. And the art's pretty good.
Yeah, if you watch the Venture Brothers, they have a Spider-Man analog on there, and he has to grow out his bangs because he's got extra eyes on his forehead. So he's going to grow out his bangs to hide those eyes. And then he actually has a little hole on the back of his costume right above his butt crack where his webs shoot out. And it's just like a little sphincter on the back of his costume. So you want to see a horrific Spider-Man, just go watch some Venture Brothers episodes.
Now, you might like Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Would you want to do a body horror Spider-Man, Kennedy?
No, 0% of me is interested. In my head, Spider-Man is Todd McFarlane. So I'd want to keep doing more of that. But ultimately, I'd end up doing a body horror Spider-Man just because of the way I draw, not because it was intentional. So probably maybe
artistic expression.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There you go. But yeah, definitely check that out, Joey. I think that book might be for you. Nerdy Girl Creates Carrie says, Shonen Jump will drop a series after a few chapters if it doesn't succeed.
Isn't that what Marvel is doing now? Like how far along did they let a series?
They reboot a book after a few chapters.
Oh, they reboot it.
Difference. It's like, Captain Marvel didn't work for the 12th time again.
Yeah, let's just reboot it with the same, the same creative team and the same vision, the same, activist mindset. of getting out the message instead of telling
That's more of
a
a
story.
That's a business tactic, though, right? They relaunch it because every number one potentially gets that little sales bump, right? It's becoming less and less effective now, but back 4 years ago, it was really effective, right? Launch a number one, put a cover on it that's different, potentially have different creators on it, but it wasn't that a strategy for them.
It used to be a jumping on point. But they went to the well so many times that now it's a jumping off point. You're getting diminishing returns. You'll get that bump from retailers, but you don't necessarily get the bump from readers.
I do want to say we had to say goodbye to Eric Breen. He wasn't able to say anything. Obviously, he was having technical difficulties for well over an hour. He'd rebooted his system multiple times. Unfortunately, he can't be with us, but we are hoping to be able to talk to the Breen. He's a great guy. I love doing comic books with him. Yesterday was our final comic book retrospective. We'll probably do some specials here and there, but as a weekly kind of ongoing series with he and Joe, so I had a lot of fun doing that one. It sucks that he was having difficulties today, but we love the Breen.
F's in the chat for Breen.
Absolutely. Drew from Comics Elite. Happy New Year's, gents. Merc Publishing has high-quality paper when it comes to our books. Aaron can attest to that. 2023 is going to be huge for Merc.
We've got a lot of stuff. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. We've got a writer's retreat coming up in February where we're going to get out and we're going to plan out the next 2 years of books. So pretty exciting stuff. We're pretty psyched about it.
It's one of those things when you have like the owner of the company is a comic book fan and a comic shop owner, he probably thinks that the materials involved are important.
Very much so. Quality. Very much so. There's a saying in the comic book industry that I learned that when you would pick up a book off the shelf, did it have good hand? And what that meant was, did it feel good when you picked grip? Yeah, when you picked up that book, did it feel good? Did it feel substantial? Did it feel like it was worth your money? And we try to do that. We try to make sure that all of our Merc books have good hand. It's got good cover stock, good interior pages that are showing off the colors, that are showing off the artwork. I really think that we're delivering a high level professional product. On all of our titles. So, we appreciate everybody who's checking them out.
Should we let Sully go into a dissertation on mouthfeel?
Well, that's why we use roux over cornstarch slurry.
You want to have a good mouthfeel on your food where it has a good substantial bite.
Well, that's a great metaphor. I mean, 2022 has been the year that I really got feet first into crowdfunding. I've been really pleased with everything I've got. I think my best of 2022 might be a crowdfunded comic book because it's got a great cover, it's got great art, got great paper quality. They do a good job on lettering because lettering can really F up your indie if it's done wrong. Yeah. I mean, it takes you right out of the game. And so I'm just continually impressed with the quality of these
The
books.
mouthfeel?
The mouthfeel, the bouquet. The finish.
There is a bouquet to comic books. There is, you open it up and you smell that print quality.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about Marvel, printing on toilet paper, and that's only a vague hyperbole. I mean, seriously, Eric. I mean, that happened. I mean, you're charging $3.99 an issue for this product.
That's
and it's like, but then I don't mind paying about $35 for a 48 to 60 page story, then additional $15 for basically the Gemini mailer and the shipping. And I appreciate the hell out of that Gemini mailer. And because my comics come to me great. Sure. I mean, I've been so pleased with a lot of these. I haven't been displeased yet with any of them.
Brilliant.
I love spending my money on funny books.
Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of representing your product well, and the first thing that you do is feel like, number one, it's not, it's already designed to be sort of like a book that you can pick up and kind of toss aside, but you shouldn't really highlight that by putting it on crap paper and putting it on, printing it out with ink that comes off on your hand. That's unacceptable. Who's the QC on the
Here's a good balance to that idea too. Okay, I made a point. I went to the major supermarket last week, and I specifically went to look at any sign of comic books on their newsstand. Their newsstand aisle is now gone. That means they're not selling paperback books. They're not selling the Sudoku magazines, and we're talking just publication shit. I mean, so it's saved for the point of sales origin at the register where you have the weekly and monthlies now. There are no Archie Digest size funny books anymore. I mean, there was not even a manga. There's nothing on eye level to children. What happened to Mama? Baby cries, Mama buys. I mean, isn't that like old-fashioned logic when you're trying to sell stuff? I mean,
guys, we gotta keep moving on. We're getting sidetracked for too long here and there. Sally Akibe says, "Who do you believe is the best DC character right now?" Obviously, it's Batman if you go by sales, but the character that I think they're treating the best right now, I definitely want to hear from Gray on this one. I would say Nightwing. Besides the lollipop incident with Jon Kent, I think for the most part, Nightwing has been portrayed as pretty heroic in a good character.
Okay, I've not been reading Nightwing, whereas for me, maybe, and this is only in The World's Finest, the way the Mark Waid's writing, believe it or not, Tim Drake, Robin in that has been written so well.
Yeah,
it
but
feels
we also
like
got Tim Drake Robin from Megan Fitzmartin.
Oh God, yeah. I'm trying to forget about that. I did
but you're right
that.
about that. The Tim Drake in that book, also the Tim Drake in the Batman by Chip Zdarsky was good.
Yes.
Too.
It feels like a return to form. It's like a return to the Chuck Dixon, the great Robin series from back in the day. Remember that? Wow, I certainly do.
Yeah. It's like there's different versions of all the characters. But I would say Nightwing is kind of the character that they're trying to treat well right now. Sully dropped something.
Wasn't me, but I'll drop something on you. My favorite is the treatment of Wally West lately. I mean, bringing him back, putting him over again after turning him in the heel. I mean, I appreciate that. These Jeremy Adams books read like those old Mark Waid, Jeff Johns books of the 90s and early 2000s. I love the Wally West volume of Flash. This is a good return to form, and I'm psyched for every new issue.
That's a good call because you don't see him in any other books really either. So that's pretty.
No,
that's where you get him. So that's pretty smart. Cobbin says her name is Pei, built up. She was created by Carrie Andrews. She's one of the good legacy characters. How many times that Marvel has screwed over Carrie Andrews? I don't know, man. That dude is amazing. His Erratic series is really good right now. If you like a Spider-Man comic book, you should definitely be reading that one. And Pei's an interesting character. She was absolutely set up to be the next Iron Fist. They wanted to do it. Carrie Andrews gave them something on a platter, and of course they're ruining it. Not to mention that cover I was mentioning earlier, that faux chromium thing that he did that was awesome. They ruined with bad paper. No wonder that dude's doing his own thing. Sally Akibe asks, which event is worse, Convergence or Dark Crisis?
Dark Crisis.
What do you think, Ray?
Really, Eric? I thought you were championing it last week.
I actually started reading it again this morning. It fits. It's pretty decent as a story goes, but I mean, Convergence was totally whacked and way out there.
Oh,
I mean, I agree that Dark Crisis is a kind of a paltry kind of story.
Well, you asked which one was worse, so you said Dark Crisis was worse.
Yes, because I think that, I love Convergence was outrageous.
Oh, I got you. You meant it in a good way.
Oh.
You were saying it was all over the place like it was bad, but I got you. What do you think, Ray?
I thought they were both pretty poor, to be honest, but sorry guys. Just too boring and kind of drawn out. I didn't feel like it was going anywhere. Is it just me?
The Dark Crisis thing, because it's fresh.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what Josh Williamson wanted to write. I don't think he wanted to do a Crisis. I think he wanted to do a Wally West versus Deathstroke big event book where they, things came together and they were supposed to fight, and he had to throw a Crisis on top of it, like this, reskinned. And I think that's why it didn't really work.
Which preferred
Convergence
Beyond,
really Convergence leaves an impact, and I'm not sure that Dark Crisis will.
So yeah, I mean, we got the Infinite Earths back. We've grown from 52 back to Infinite Earths.
We're in the multiverse. We already had it.
Whoop-de-doo.
Oh, Dark Crisis has an impact. It introduced Mickey Mitzelplick and insulted a whole lot of customers, so it's got some impact there.
You guys are talking about two different events. If I were to if I were to buy that right now, would I need all sorts of lead up to get into it?
Don't buy it. Is my advice.
Do it.
Well,
No,
maybe
not for
before you
Dark
buy
Crisis. You wouldn't need it.
Eric, if you want to waste money, let me sell you some action figures, man.
Listen, for me, I get it. The entire panel is saying hey, it's not very good, or it's the worst event or whatever.
Sully likes it.
I didn't mind it as much. I mean, because I just came back to it after a 5-year break. So, and I love crisis stories. I really do. I love multiverse variants. Traditionally, I mean, it's been running
You
to the
should read
ground.
Dark Knight's Metal. It's a way
I
better
should,
version.
because I love Superboy Prime. He's one of my favorite all-time heels.
That one's in Death Metal. Dark Knight's Metal just has all the Batman mashups.
Oh, cool.
They do like individual issues for each character. Like there's one called Dawnbreaker. That's Bruce Wayne becoming Green Lantern. Which is a really cool character. There's a Red Death. That was him in the Flash. That's where the Batman Who Laughs comes from. But some of those one-shots are absolutely amazing. On that
Grim
Dark Knight's
Knight.
Metal book.
The Grim Knight was awesome, wasn't it?
Yes. Batman.
So don't buy it. Is that what you guys are saying? Don't click on that.
Yeah, borrow
I wouldn't
someone's
buy it,
copy, man.
but,
You want to borrow my Dark Crisis? Just don't bend the pages, man.
Guys, go for Flashpoint Beyond instead by Jeff Johns. I much preferred that.
Jeremy Adams is actually the one that outlined that.
Oh,
It
right.
had like the whole story done.
yeah,
and Jeff
sorry,
Johns
yeah.
came in
Yeah,
after
and
the
it's
fact.
got Eduardo Risso art, right? I mean, just
No, that one's got it's I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
it does. I don't know if it was all the issues, Eric. You're right.
okay.
Was it?
From 100 Bullets. Remember that series? Wow, I do.
100 Bullets is good, but
I'll send you a Darkwing Duck PDF, Eric. Don't
don't fret. We
Yeah,
got
I'll send
Darkwing
you-
Duck coming.
I'll send you 416 pages of Darkwing Duck.
All right, I'm into it. I'll take it.
Lade Craver says Perch in his solicits for Rogue and Gambit Mini coming from. He says Stephanie Williams here, but I'm pretty sure it's Stephanie Phillips. Said he guaranteed the relationship will be destroyed. Taking bets. I'm going to go with relationship destroyed. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
They already
Can't be
kind of like Rogue already ditched Gambit to take care of her cats, like about 18 months ago.
Oh,
So they were pretty
God.
much setting it up. You know what I mean?
What happened? Oh man.
What-
She went on an adventure and she said, "You're staying with the cats."
You're right. Didn't Rogue and Gambit get married?
Yes, they were Mr. and
Mrs. X. Okay, and this happened how long ago? Like 3 years ago?
That was probably the best thing that Kelly Thompson's ever written at Marvel. I think it was 3.5 years ago. But
I think Kelly Thompson cares about the X-Men, and I think that there's no real leadership, so she was just able to kind of do what she wanted. And since she actually cares about the X-Men and she likes them and probably has read them and understands the characters, I think that's why it was her best work.
probably right on that one. Lade Kramer, worst ending of 2022 DC versus Vampires number 12. Awful. I was enjoying DC versus Vampires. I haven't got to issue 12 yet. Was it that bad?
You look so perplexed, Wes.
Well, it was just it was stupid popcorn fun. It was DC heroes fighting DC vampires.
Sure.
And she did a pretty good job making Supergirl kind of cool.
Wes looked betrayed when he read
I
that.
was a little surprised. It felt like how do you mess that one up? It's just a stupid. It's a stupid story.
Oh, they'll find a way, Wes.
Life finds a way.
Goblin says bad news. DC turns Fitzmartin's Robin into an ongoing because of DC's bias and favoritisms and Fitzmartin's care and privilege. Might see Perch, Tim Drake analysis. I think it is an ongoing. I think it always was announced to be one.
It's an ongoing until it won't be.
To go into the Marvel method, there is a lot more DC like Marvel stuff going on. Like specifically with Action Comics 1050 was very Marvel-esque. The way that they undid Superman's identity being revealed, and there was another book. Oh, that Jon Kent or John Stewart Green or Emerald Knight book. They did something straight out of Marvel's playbook with the. Well, I don't want to go into it now because I'm going to review it with Doc. But they're taking like all the worst stuff from Marvel with DC. Terrible. Sally Akibe, to be fair, Convergence brought back the Superman and brought in Jon Kent, but then DC just forgot about how Jordan Parallax. The Convergence story, the portion from Dan Jurgens was absolutely great. It was vital to the future DC comics, and then they broke it. It was shocking, right? So, yeah, interesting stuff. Convergence, Dan Didio was not good on events, let's put it that way, when he was in charge. Nothing ever really worked out. So we'll pass up on Action Comics 1050 because I'm going to talk to Jim about that in full. Let's talk about our favorite comics of 2022, and then we'll do the movies and kind of wrap this up. Kennedy, I know that you don't read as many new comics as I do, or Gray does, or even Sully, but was there
Too
anything
hardcore for me.
you read in 2022 that you were like, this is amazeballs? I got to get the word out.
No, well, yes, but it's 2 years after the fact.
fine.
I'm
If it's new to
behind you
you, it's
guys
good.
when it comes to finding stuff. I'm about to read Hawkman. I'm looking at the pages and I'm like, holy
You're
cow.
going to be happy.
Mhm.
Especially that first
Brian
issue
Hitch
gets you
is
right in
just
there.
coming in like he is He's still Brian Hitch.
He fights a flying gorilla, I think, in the first issue.
Yeah, it's so good. I was new to the character, Wes. I'm new to it, and it sold me within the first issue. Absolutely great. I loved it, and I was so sad to see it cancelled.
So what was your book that was 2 years old that you read that was amazing, Kennedy?
Shoot, what was it? I just re-downloaded again. Oh no, this is really awful. This is actually decades old, but I went and reread Kingdom Come Again in 2022.
Absolutely.
And how amazing and how relevant that still is to right now. Right? There's no version of
Batman Superman World's Finest.
I'm going to. I'm
telling you should if you just read that and you liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Kingdom Come is decades old, but still relevant in 2022.
Absolutely. It sounds like James Gunn is going to do a Kingdom Come for DC in the movies.
Rumors,
I've been hinting at it.
Can I just make a point here about about Mark Waid's Batman Superman?
Yes.
I think that as much as the customer base, the fan base, gets called toxic and gets all these horrible things thrown at them by comic book professionals, I think that Mark Waid's Batman Superman really demonstrates the forgiveness that comic book fans have in their heart if you just deliver what it is that they want, which is good comic book stories. There's a lot of reasons that fans have to dislike Mark Waid, and yet they're willing to come back when he just stops venting and just gets down to what he is really good at, which is writing Superman and Batman. And that's what we want. That's what we want from Mark Waid. We don't care about your political screeds. We don't care about whatever's irritating you at the deli. Just stay off of social media and just focus on what you're really good at, because you are one of the best at capturing the essences of characters when you're just writing stories and you're not focused on, injecting something that you're pissed off about.
Well, that pastrami on rice sucked. What do you want me to do?
Wait. Actually, let me come back, Wes. One of the best books I read, and I'm completely biased by this, but there's King of the Spies by Mark Millar and Matteo Scalera.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
You are 100% correct, sir.
I have not read that. I will have to check that out.
You've got to.
No, Matteo
it may make the list on my top 10 of the year. Absolutely.
Yeah, he just released, he just went out and did the Mr. Freeze story, and tongue-in-cheekly I said, this is the worst thing you've ever drawn, only because you drew King of the Spies previously, right? Which I thought was like a high bar in his skill set and his craft, but just the way that book reads is so freaking amazing.
He's got that Sean Gordon Murphy-esque kind of level vibe to his art.
Sure.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
I think they're friends. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. I think he did something in his White Knight universe. I think he did a one shot.
It's the Mr. Freeze one that just came out a few weeks back, or a few months back.
He did.
It came out like about a year and a half ago.
Black Science with Rick Remender on Image was amazing.
I used to read that, Eric. No way.
That was really good.
I like
sci-fi.
Black Science as well.
Yeah.
My only problem with the book is he forgot to make like any of the heroes likable. Like the main protagonist, like when you meet him, he's nailing this lady and his kids walk in on him, and it's not his wife. You're like, I don't know that I want this guy to win. I'm like, get out of here, man.
But he's she says get out, and then he says no, let the boy watch.
One more. Have you guys read this the Alex Ross Fantastic Four?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Behind me.
I didn't put that on my top 10 list. Oh,
you got to make some revisions, Les. You got to do an addendum.
Full Circle is
it wasn't
so
a comic series,
damn
it's from
good.
Abrams' books.
Yeah. Anyway, those for me
amazing.
at the top two. I love those two books.
Great calls.
Yeah, Fantastic Four Full Circle is a great call. Sparrow, what's the best comic book you read this year? Comics?
We just talked about it. Full Circle. And not to suck up to Eric, but I really loved Arc Athena, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the story continues.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's a new. It's like I'm getting excited.
Do you think
about...
Alex Ross is ever going to catch up Canetti as an artist?
I mean,
that's a loaded question. I gotta go.
He's got some work to do, but maybe if he really knuckles down,
But Fantastic Four Full Circle, him using a new art style was amazing. He looked so good, kind of doing that Jack Kirby tribute kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A little crackle in there. You're gonna see all those little things in the background with like the robots and stuff you hadn't seen in 30 years.
His love of those comics just really comes through. It's when you get a creator who is just absolutely in love with what he's doing. You know, not somebody who's just cashing a check, not somebody who's just trying to like, well, maybe this will lead to a Netflix deal, or maybe I can, you know, get on some show in Hollywood writing scripts. You know, when you've got somebody who just really loves comics, loves the medium, he loves Jack Kirby, he loves the Fantastic Four, and it is evident in every single panel of that book.
Yep. And we can get by on just talking about Alex Ross art, which is, you know, that'll be me all day. But that story is really damn good. You know, that is really super solid, foundationally strong, premise is strong. And I'm like, yeah.
It makes you believe the story that he actually outlined Kingdom Come and Mark Waid just went and finished it.
Is that a story? I'm completely naive.
That's what I've always heard, that he actually, like one of the characters in there is inspired by his dad. And like he came up with the idea and like he had it kind of all out there. And then Mark Waid came in and finished the script while he did the art.
When I was working with Mark at Boom, I complimented him on something, and I remember getting an email back from him where he said, well, you know, comics is a collaborative medium. That's what I tried to get across to Alex Ross. And I just never questioned him any further on that. I was like, oh, okay, obviously there's some animosity there, or there's some kind of beef that I didn't want to get into. But yeah, that definitely backs up the story.
You know what's crazy about Kingdom Come is if you read it today, it feels like it's written to be about today.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
Like the kids are all infighting and they all have these superpowers and no
they need
villains.
the adults to come back in the room and put things right.
Oh my God.
Being burned down to the ground.
That's the beauty of you know, a visionary story, is when you look at kind of the things that are going on and you can kind of project what's going to happen in the future. And your story just becomes more and more relevant as time marches on.
Yeah,
really
because I remember when I read it, you know, just a couple years ago. I was like, man, this is creepy. It feels like I'm reading 1984 again. Do you know what I mean? The first time you read something, it's like, man, that's transformative.
I'll tell you something that I reread recently. That just speaking of Mark Waid, is I reread Unthinkable, his Doctor Doom story from Fantastic Four. Still one of my absolute favorite stories of all time.
Very nice. I'm glad Mark Waid's back at DC. He feels like such a better fit.
And I'm glad that and they've got him writing Batman and Superman, iconic characters. Don't give him teenagers. You know, he's so far removed from that. You know, he can't really.
It did not work.
No, it didn't work at all. You know, put him on something that he's passionate about and that he gets, and he gets Superman.
Absolutely. All right, Sully. What's your favorite comic book of 2022?
I have 3 picks. One of them,
absolutely.
I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. We got Night of the Ghoul by Scott Snyder and Francisco Cavilla.
That's a Comixology original that's being published by Boom?
Published by Dark Horse. And,
Dark Horse,
it was $15 well spent. I love the art. I like the
art's
story.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I love this battery. You know, the battery being the pitcher and the catcher on a baseball team. Well, the writer and the artist is a battery itself. And this battery never fails. And this was great. I love the quality of the books. And it was a fun story. I love the art. I love the story told. Speaking of art, I'm loving this. This is Sergeant Rock.
Bruce Campbell.
By Bruce Campbell, who it's amazing how you have a non-comics writer able to keep the voices of these classic characters. And when you're given classic characters to newer creators, they are unable to keep that tone.
He probably grew up reading Sergeant Rock. He was like dreaming of this moment.
But this has Eduardo Risso art. He did 100 Bullets. He also did the Joker one shot and Flashpoint, which really set up the it was the I think it was a 3-parter. It was the Batman story, Batman, Flashpoint. It was about Thomas Wayne, and that was really killer. But it's not complete yet. It's 4 out of 6. And I'm looking forward to this. This is great. This is some good.
If you want to see Sergeant Rock fight zombies, I believe it is.
You see, watch all the Nazi smackdowns you want right here.
Nazi zombies, even better.
And I gotta say, Flash by Jeremy Adams. I'm looking forward to what's coming next.
1 Minute War.
1 Minute War. You know, and I saw one of your videos recently, Wes. So he's coming off the title.
He's contracted for a certain amount of comic books.
Okay.
And the end is coming up. He's tried to contact DC Comics about future work and what they're going to do with the Flash, and he's getting ghosted. At least he was when I had the information. It's unfortunate.
He can come pitch to me. I'll put him on a Merc title in a heartbeat. We'll talk about creator-owned titles through Legends, whatever it is that Jeremy Adams wants to do. I think that DC is being extremely foolish in not strapping a rocket to that guy's back and just riding it to success.
Exactly. I mean, one of the, as a fan, and one of the things that I think we bitch and moan about are that the big two are not making superhero stories for the old style superhero fans. And I guess that DC is kind of listening, because we have World's Finest, we have The Flash, we have Action Comics, and we have Zdarsky's Batman. So there are at least 4 titles out there meant for us, the aging fan, meant for us, the old style superhero fan. And I'm grateful for that.
I would agree with you. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Art T. Bear. He's apparently watching the show.
Woo,
Hope
Art
you had
T.
a
Bear.
wonderful New Year, sir.
Happy New Year, Art.
Good to see you, man.
Love Art. What a great guy Art is.
Dude.
Class act. Very
Man.
nice.
Ultimate Spider-Man totally changed after you got off the book, man. I stopped buying. Just wanted to tell you.
We've also got Gray from Wakizaki's Tea House. What was your favorite comic book of the year?
Okay, surprisingly, in a pretty poor year, there's been quite a few, whereas it's been hard to narrow down. We talked about the World's Finest. Batman Superman's been awesome. Big fan of that. I'm enjoying Chip Zdarsky's Batman run, but I have to say, overall, over the full year, King Spawn by Sean Lewis and the arts by Javier Fernandez. For me, I'm new to Spawn, and King Spawn has just blown me away from the start. It's got more of a horror theme to it. It's darker than the main title, because Gunslinger Spawn is also awesome. That's a lot of fun. That's just like pulpy fun, but this is really good and just beautiful art.
Was Fernandez the one that was illustrating that Justice League Dark with James Tynion?
I think so. I get them mixed up because there's quite a few Javiers, isn't there? At the moment, it's like I'm getting them mixed up, but yeah, check it out. Big recommend.
That's the one thing I'll give Todd McFarlane. Like, he can identify a good artist.
Absolutely, yeah. He was an amazing artist. I was buying his original Spider-Man series back in the day. Wow.
Yeah, whenever he bring in artists like on his Spawn, if you go like look at the artists that he's had, it's like a who's who of like the mainstream like elites right now. The only one I guess that wasn't like a big name was like maybe Simon Kodransky. But he's got like a kind of a weird style to him.
I talk about like not caring about working at the big two. But man, what a fun thing it would be to like work on the Spawn books right now. Oh, yeah. There's just so much, so much creativity coming out right now. I really like what Todd's doing.
Very nice. So let's get through these couple last ones and let's get into the movies. Common Sense has Grant McKay from Black Science versus Rick Sanchez.
I'd check it out. Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty.
Ah, cool.
Grant McKay, I guess. Well, we get him.
I don't know, man. Rick's pretty immoral and pretty invincible.
Yeah. Rick and Morty writers are really destroying comic books right now too. Like they're really trying to bring that over into mainstream entertainment, not realizing.
And the She-Hulk TV show.
Yeah, it works for the show. It doesn't work for everything else. Lade Kramer says, "Can we get a West Wednesday dance video?" No, probably not. I don't see that happening.
Was that ever a thing? Did you dance?
It's not a thing.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I'll dance with my wife if I'm at a wedding and she tells me and it's a slow dance.
No, I want to see you do some TikTok dances.
Maybe I'll like do something stupid, but not really a dancing guy. My kids dance.
Black. Wait, Wes, hear me out. You, black unitard, bathed in spotlight, interpretive dance. Just get all your feelings out through the majesty of dance.
Dude, you make a lot of money, man. I don't think you guys have that much.
Was ingesting that information.
I think people would be throwing money at you in the chat.
I'd have to get it up front. You're gonna make a fool out of yourself. You better get a guarantee on that. I'm sorry, Lane. I'm sure you want to see me dance, but it's probably just not in the cards. Not Wednesday or any day. Let's talk about the best comic movies of 2022. I thought it was Spider-Man No Way Home, but apparently that was 2021. What the hell was the best movie of the year, Aaron?
It's really hard to say. I can't think of anything I saw this year that really blew me away. I mean, I haven't seen Top Gun. It doesn't have to blow you away. It just has to be better than the rest. I haven't seen Top Gun Maverick yet, and I can't, nothing comes to mind.
Best comic movie. Well, what's better than Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness? Is it Black Adam?
Nothing.
I mean... I didn't really
wasn't
like.
a good year though, huh?
Listen,
No, it really wasn't. It wasn't a good.
Adam.
Wasn't a
Black
good year
Adam
for.
was a great dumb movie. I like that movie plenty.
I haven't got to watch it. I'm going to watch it with my boys. We have, the Disney, or I'm sorry, the HBO Go now, but we haven't been able to get to it yet because of the holidays.
Yeah, it's like free on HBO Max right now. I'm just so generally tired of The Rock and his shtick. He's just The Rock in everything, and so I never really had a lot of interest in seeing him as Black Adam. Like maybe back in 2010 when they first started talking about this, I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
You're tired of the most electrifying man in entertainment today.
I'm super tired of him. I'm done with The Rock. But you know what? The appeal of that movie is for me is Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate.
Oh yeah.
I like seeing the JSA the first time on the big screen.
And I like Aldous
What about
Hodge.
the Batman, Sparrow? Maybe that's your movie. Did you like the Batman?
No, I didn't really enjoy. I know this is like kind of like blasphemy to people, but I didn't really enjoy the Batman. It was.
It felt weird to me. It felt like the second movie in a trilogy.
Why? Yeah, and why does everybody in Gotham?
Why does he lose?
Why are there only 2 light bulbs in Gotham?
It's gonna be dark.
Your audio just
dark.
moved, buddy.
Okay.
All right, so it sounds like Sparrow didn't like any movies. We got a Black Adam.
Nothing
which is
comes
the
to
best
mind.
comic movie. Sully, what's your favorite movie of the year so far?
Comic book movies? It would have to be Black Adam. I enjoyed it. It was mindless. It was 20 minutes too long. And Act 3 kind of falls apart, but the pacing and the story and the beats for the first 2 acts really was spot on. I'm usually not one for race swaps in anything, but that was Hawkman. That was Carter Hall. That was Carter Hall.
You can really do that with a character because he's reincarnated.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
It just in general, it's just unnecessary because there's so many characters out there to be using. And but overall, I really like seeing 3 generations of superheroes. You had mentors and young people, and that's that's good because that's how the tradition. That's how we learned in these comic books how the torch is passed and legacies from to the sidekicks. And that was nice. Did
you see the Batman? Is there no question it was Black Adam?
I did see the Batman. That went on like an hour too long. Man, that was like we had. The best thing about the Batman was, I'll tell you this, that I meet up with a group of friends that I made over the live chats in all of our shows, and we have a Boston unit of at least 8, going on 10 people now that we can meet up and make plans. We usually make plans for these superhero movies. So we saw Multiverse of Madness together. We saw the Batman and Black Adam all together. That's been a great experience, especially because the live chat is some of the best parts of these shows, and the ability to make in real life friends. So
I believe my live chat is the best in the business. I'm just putting it out there.
You are darn right.
I might be a little bit biased, but for the most part, people are talking about comics and have a good time.
Well, I'll say this much: I like Multiverse of Madness more than the Batman.
Oh, so you really didn't like the Batman?
Wow. It peaked in Act 2 with the.
There were parts about it that I really liked.
That
few things on. It was just a little off on a few.
The Batmobile reveal was killer. That was like the Batmobile was its own character, but it really peaked there, like with the chase. And
I liked Colin Farrell. I thought that Zoe, what's her name? Zoe Kravitz. I thought it's like when people were like upset about like her casting as Catwoman, I really didn't get it because I was like, look at her haircut. Great. She looks like Selena Kyle.
Yeah, she's great.
So like there were things that I really enjoyed about it. I don't enjoy Paul Dano ever. So like I hated the Riddler. And then especially when
that's the problem. It was the Sam.
Yeah, and then when the third act became all about his dumb like internet followers, like I was like, oh, this is jumped the shark for me.
I legitimately think I thought that was a poke at us, the internet fans, us YouTubers, Absolutely. And our live chats. And that I thought that was a smack in the face to us, the anti-soy people, the incel they call us,
the paying customer, as we're. But
people still say incel?
Like the other day.
I mean, morons do.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't hear that one very often.
Morons.
All right, Gray, what was your favorite comic book movie of the year?
Wow, you've mentioned them all. It was a tie between
no Black Panther.
No, Multiverse of Madness, which I know it's controversial. I wish we could have seen the Sam Raimi cut. That's all I can say about that, because the Sam Raimi in that movie was great. I wanted to see more of it, and it's got to be the Batman, Wes, for me. I know it's an obvious choice. I'm a huge Batman fan, I always have been, and it is kind of two movies. It felt like they dumped the third act, on at the last minute. They started to do what was it, No Man's Land? Wasn't it? Is that the one? Yeah, like, they dropped that in. It's like, what are you doing? You should have finished it before that. But the interaction between him, Robert Pattinson as the Batman, not Bruce Wayne, he was playing the Batman like an alien, like an other, like something else. And his relationship with Gordon, that was great. They were doing detective work.
Yeah, that's one of the standout moments of the book. You know what's weird, Kennedy? You remember when you were a kid? I think we're about the same age. The only reason a movie would ever be over 2 hours is if it was like an Oscar movie. If it was a cartoon, it was 1 hour and 15 minutes. If it was an action movie, it was an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. Now everything is 3 hours. What the hell happened?
I agree. And there's no reason for it to be that
Remember,
long.
if it was over 2 hours, you had to get 2 cassette tapes at the Blockbuster.
Yeah. What are you trying to do by having a movie be what's the experience that you're trying to give me with 2 hours that I couldn't have gotten in an hour and a half, an hour and 15?
It's the Avatar 2, you're talking 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Yes.
Apparently there was an 8-hour cut. Like, get over yourself, Cameron. I know you're successful, but fuck.
And that's 2 movies as well. There's like a whole other movie in Avatar.
Yeah, you're right.
In the case of
Batman,
in the case of Batman, I thought, like, why is this so freaking? You know how, like, you can cut so much of this and there would be no impact to the story that you're trying to tell, which is to me like the filter, right? That's the razor for me. Like, you cut this scene, does this like take away from the momentum of the movie? And if the answer is no, cut that scene. Put it in the. You
got the atmosphere right, though, because it did feel like 7 with Batman.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't quite understand why he was trying to help this guy whose entire motivation was just like kill a bunch of bad guys. Like, I didn't understand why he was trying to rescue the bad guys. It didn't make sense to me. That never registered to be like, he's just killing a bunch of people who are like gangsters and like awful people. Why are you trying to stop? Is it because the premise of just a bad guy killing in general is the thing that's anti-Batman? I didn't quite understand.
Man,
do you know my problem? My problem with Batman. Okay. Test one too. My problem with Batman, with the Batman as a movie, and just doing Batman movies in general, is that just once I would like to see comic book Batman on the screen in a non-animated movie. Obviously we had like Mask of Phantasm, which is probably the best representation, that we've ever had of Batman on the big screen, and nobody went to see it. Like Paul Dini actually joked with me when I told him, I said, yeah, my brother and I were there on opening night, and he goes, oh, so you were the two.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was it was really sad because it's so good. But just give me me with a Batman movie is like Stanley from The Office, where he just loses it about Christmas. He's like, we all know what holiday you're talking about. Just I've been through some dumb Christmases. I've been through Pulp Fiction Christmas, Moroccan Christmas, Mo Rocca Christmas. Just give me regular Christmas. I just want comic book Batman on the screen. I want him fighting Killer Croc, and not the terrible giant-headed, small-bodied Croc from Suicide Squad. I want a legit Killer Croc. I want Clayface to show up and it not to be mind-blowing because you're like, yeah, this is the universe that this inhabits. That's the Batman that I want to see. I want to see detective superhero Batman. We never get superhero Batman. We finally got detective Batman to an extent, but we've never had superhero detective Batman. Give me the Arkham games. Give me Batman The Long Halloween. That's the perfect way to do a Batman movie and to introduce a new Batman. You don't have to do an origin for every villain. You want to cram a bunch of stuff in there and spin off a bunch of stuff, do The Long Halloween.
Well, they sort of tried to do that.
Aaron, the Corridor Digital guys, the Corridor crew, they put Adam West in for Robert Pattinson in that movie. So they took a bunch of footage from like the old school Batman and put it into the most recent The Batman, and it looks so freaking amazing in its ridiculousness. Like they put him in that really seminal. They put him in that really seminal scene where he's coming out of the tunnel for the when the gangster starts shooting at him right inside the hallway. But they put Adam West in there, just like kicking ass, and I thought, like, this is fucking.
It looks so good, doesn't it, Eric? It's
seamless. Who is that? I gotta look that up.
Go see Corridor Digital or the Corridor Crew, and put in Adam West the Batman.
Corridor Crew. Okay. There's also an animated. I don't know. Let me see if I'll see if I can look it up and so that people can check it out. But a guy did an animated project where it's Batman versus the ventriloquist, and I won't say who the main villain behind the ventriloquist is, but it was like a passion project, and he did it like start to finish, and it is fantastic.
Very nice. Sali Akibe says his best comic book movie was the Batman or Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Very nice.
I have not seen Black Panther yet, so
can't go with you on the Wakanda Forever journey. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it yet. We'll see what happens. He also says Noah was Atom Smasher, was actually a delight. Did we like Atom Smasher?
He was right at the edges, like right at the perimeter of turning into Paul Rudd's Ant-Man. So I was like,
I thought so.
We've seen that a handful
I've
of
only
times.
seen Edge play Atom Smasher in The Flash, right? That's who he was?
Mm-hmm.
In the Flash show?
I've never seen it.
Edge from the WWF? I think it was him. Okay.
I just know that on that day he saw clearly.
Galvin says, Wes, the info I want to give to Perch is about the Alyssa Wong's Iron Fist. I super chatted earlier. Perch is the only one I know that's met Carrie Andrews. Yeah, I'll pass it along. I'll give him the details. I probably won't email him. I'll just DM him, but I'll get that info over to him. Tevia says, best comic movie was Battle of the Super Sons, an actual cartoon featuring the real Jon Kent. My goodness.
That's really good, Wes.
I heard that was really good. Who wrote that? I heard
Jeremy Adams, right?
I don't know.
Jeremy Adams did.
Oh, really?
Oh, there you go. Well, there you have it.
It's got to be, right?
Nice one, Tevia. Good recommendation, man.
Very good. All right, so that'll basically do it for our show today. I've got some other stuff to do, and Eric Kennedy has to leave us soon. Let's get some comic book recommendations out of the way for the last week of the year going into 2023. What comic books are you recommending, Kennedy?
The same ones that are in my top, the best comic books I've read. Yeah. Go read Fantastic Four. I can't recommend that enough to people.
Remember, that's
who are
not
like,
from Marvel. That's from Abrams Books if you're looking for it. It's not a Marvel publication.
But for every person who's fallen out of love with like how Marvel had been presenting themselves, Fantastic Four is going to get you right back in it. This thing really represents what it means to be like, let's just get superhero story. Let's just get a superhero story in here. And they are, the family dynamic works, the team dynamic works, and the story foundationally is strong. Not to talk about Alex Ross's amazing art, but he's got a few years before he can catch it. We talked.
So if people like your art as much as Joey R earlier, he's been talking about how amazing your art was on Spider-Man. You do have Arc Athena out. We might get 3 volumes this year. We might put them all out on crowdfunding. People can get these comic books right now if they want to.
They can get it right now. They can go to iconiccomics.com. The first 2 volumes are available there, right? Book 1, book 2 are there. Please read. And if I could ask you as a favor to email me back and tell me what you think about it, I'd really appreciate that.
I still owe you a detailed review, don't I?
Oh, that would be great. I would love that. I would love that, Aaron.
More chop, the better, right? Take it apart.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have a lot. Like, I don't have a lot to take apart. I think it's really well constructed. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the whole story. I haven't seen all 6. But just the first 2 are really solid, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Appreciate it.
Very nice. So definitely be checking that out if you want some more Eric Kennedy, one of the superstar comic book artists, obviously discovered by Jim Lee and the great people over at Wildstorm. We've also got, Aaron just left us. You threw me off. Sully, what do you recommended this week?
Well, I picked up 2 magazines this past Wednesday at my local comic book shop. One is, I'm known for being positive, but hey, I got a negative review. I picked up this Jon Stewart, The Emerald Night Funny book for $5.99, and I'm befuddled. I mean, this could actually use a Marvel-style primer page, like with characters, what led up to this. You go into this cold. I'm clueless. The art was decent, and it felt very, very
I knew what was going on, and I hated it too. It's not just you, buddy.
Oh, cool. But
Doc and I are reviewing that one on Monday.
Cool. I'm loving Jeff Johns and Todd Knox, Stargirl, The Lost Children. This is a mini series. I picked up issue 2 a couple of weeks late. The art in this is awesome. I mean, Todd Knox draws teen superheroes very well, very energetically. I'm loving this, and it's good to see Jeff Johns doing maybe what he's meant to be doing, writing really good DC comics. I'm looking forward to this. And so this is my pick of the week would be Stargirl. Avoid Jon Stewart's Emerald Knight. I thought I confused this with the upcoming series.
PKJ.
Yeah, I'm going to be in for that. So I'm thankful, that these two are not the same, because it would have soured me.
Absolutely. We do have Joe Herb says he just wanted to wish you all a happy new year. Or I think it's new beer. Happy new beer, everybody. Get you have a little drink. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, Joe Herb. Really appreciate that. Common Sense says he recommends DC Mech number 6 should be an anime. Very nice. If you want an anime or a mech, a comic book, it sounds like to me, Common Sense says that you should go read DC Mech. I personally haven't checked it out myself, but it sounds like he's really on board. He also says Happy New Year's, everybody. And that absolutely extends to everyone. I hope everyone had a safe, happy New Year's Eve and enjoyed the celebrations. Aaron Sparrow, what are you recommending this week?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that Art Taber says he recommends anything by Eric Canetti. So, he just put that, dropped that in the chat. So, high praise for Mr. Art Taber. And let me say, I'm going to recommend anything that Art's got coming up, because he's putting out some great crowdfunded books. If you guys haven't checked out his stuff, go check it out. It's interesting. I'm still enjoying Zdarsky on Daredevil. That's probably I'm really enjoying Moon Knight right now. Just from that's been fantastic, and it's so strange because I did not enjoy Taskmaster by that same writer. Did not enjoy it at all. Yeah, I hated it with a passion. But again, like Eric was talking about earlier, you have to wonder if that was a story that was given to him by Editorial, and then he just kind of had to do some mercenary work on it. It's really disappointing that when writers aren't allowed to do their best work. But again, I'm going to say go get Alex Ross's Fantastic Four. It's absolutely fantastic. As we pointed out, it's by Abrams Books. It's not coming out of Marvel Editorial, which is probably why it's great. The
quality of the book is amazing too. They did not go cheap on anything.
In Jurassic Park fashion, they spared no expense.
Yes.
So it is absolutely fantastic. So those would be my recommendations for 2023. I think I'm looking forward to seeing, now that IDW has lost the Hasbro license, I'm looking forward to seeing what Robert Kirkman does with it. G.I. Joe 300 kind of ended on a cliffhanger and was like, to be continued. So I'm wondering if they're going to pick up Larry Hama and let him continue his run while also maybe doing some other new titles with G.I. Joe. I'm very interested in that. I think that if you give Larry a good artist, which IDW has just been giving him a series of, passable workman-like artists for a while. I think if you gave him and kind of reinvigorated him, you could do some really good stuff with that. So I'm excited to see what some of these licenses leaving IDW, what new life they're going to have with other publishers.
Absolutely. And definitely be looking out for Merc Publishing. Aaron is the editor-in-chief. His word, his stamp is on every one of those comic books. They're doing big things. The sales have been going up and up, and I know a lot of people are excited about that. Now let's talk to Gray from Wakazashi's Tea House. Thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on hitting 1,000 subscribers. What comic books are you recommending?
Thank you very much, Wes. We talked about already Chip Zdarsky's Batman run. I recommend that, and the World's Finest Batman Superman by Wade and Dan Mora. Dan Mora's art is so good.
He's not going to be leaving the book when he goes over to this other project with Mark Waid. They're going to be doing both books monthly.
Oh, I don't know how he does it, because he was also doing Once and Future at the same time, wasn't he, Dan Mora?
Yeah, he must be like the fastest artist ever.
Maybe Dan Mora, discovered by my friend Darren Bennett from And World Design, who does some of the best lettering in the business. Worked on his book Quixote, which so he found Dan and kind of like broke him in, and then he was doing work. Darren was doing work with Boom, and Boom stole him, and that was how Dan Mora went mainstream.
He did Klaus, didn't he, with Grant Morrison? Is that right, Dan Mora? Which is fantastic. Great Christmas story. Where's just one more to recommend, which is a bit of an unusual one. And speaking of Paul Dano, is it? Or Dano? Paul Dano before. He's writing The Riddler, Year 1. And surprisingly for me, the first issue was really good. Issue 2 just dropped. It's good. It's a little bit drawn out, but it's kind of got Vertigo vibes, if you know what I mean. The art is gorgeous by, I think it's Stevan Subic, if I can pronounce that right.
Very nice. And Art T. Bear says, for the record, his new book is Black and White Man versus Machine. And Happy New Year to all. If you go out there and support that and be on the lookout, Art T. Bear is a legend for a reason. So I do want to say thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Unfortunately, Eric Breen had technical difficulties, didn't really get to join us, but we had a lot of fun on a special day and time. We will be back here live next week on Saturday. We ended up having to skip yesterday, obviously, because there was going to be fireworks and all kinds of stuff going on during the show. So thank you very much to Eric Canetti. Who else we got? Aaron Sparrow, Gray, and Sully. We'll see you all next week on the Comics Aficionados.